Chapter 168. Pass through this scorched earth minefield and obtain the item on the Thunderlight Cliff? Hearing this, Ning Tian's eyes flashed. Just this scorched earth minefield alone was enough to make a holy emperor suffer a little, not to mention the purple lightning on the Thunderlight Cliff that was even more terrifying than these lightning bolts. No wonder the Moon Spirit Princess failed twice. It was not without reason. Entering the scorched earth minefield with one's physical body and facing the purple lightning head-on? Eugene felt pain all over just thinking about it. Suddenly, a sly look flashed in her eyes. Ugly big bad guy. If you were electrocuted, do you think you can achieve the effect of plastic surgery through electrotherapy? Ning Tian, Moon Spirit Princess. After being stunned for a moment, both of them did not know whether to laugh or cry. Just how much did this girl care about Ning Tian's looks? What, if I become handsome, do you still want to marry me? Ning Tian could not help but tease. TSK, Yuqin rolled her eyes and snorted. If you can really become handsome, what's wrong with marrying you? Haha, I can't afford it. Ning Tian laughed and waved his hand. Right what? Right? What are you talking about? Why can't I understand? Yuqin scratched her head, somewhat confused. Hearing this, Ning Tian just smiled and did not explain anything. If this girl knew that he was mocking her for being young, wouldn't she chase him to the ends of the earth? Moon Spirit Princess, if there are no other requests, then I'll go. Ning Tian said and prepared to move. Wait. Suddenly, the Moon Spirit Princess stopped him. Ning Tian turned his head and looked at her. Just do your best. Even if you don't succeed, I will still give you the Thunder Heart Fruit that I promised you. The Moon Spirit Princess said softly. Hearing this, Ning Tian was stunned for a moment and just smiled. I don't like to owe people favors. Since I promised, then let's do it first. The Moon Spirit Princess was stunned. She didn't know what to do. Ning Tian did not say anything. He turned around and prepared to enter the scorched earth minefield. Pooh. Right at that moment, a sneer was heard. Yume walked over with 4 feminine and beautiful men behind her. She looked at Yu Ling with ridicule and then looked at Ning Tian. Oh, isn't this my good sister and her ugliness? Ugh. It was a pity. Before he could finish, he retched again. She gritted her teeth and looked at Ning Tian. She thought to herself, this guy must be disgusting. I've already taken all the necessary precautions. How could I be pregnant? Moon Demon ignored Ning Tian and coldly harumphed as she looked at the Moon Spirit Princess. My good sister, are you still thinking about the things inside Thunderlight Cliff? You found such an ugly, Yume finally understood that as long as the word ugly was mentioned, she would retch, so she might as well change the words. If you're looking for such a person, why don't you let me help you find a few more? Yume chuckled. Look, how about the 4 young masters behind me? Aren't they very handsome? Their skills are top-notch. They will definitely serve you well, hehe. As her voice fell, the 4 people behind Yume raised their chests proudly. Duck? Ning Tian was stunned for a moment. He glanced at the 4 of them and couldn't help but frown. These 4 people were even more effeminate than Een San from the Shadow Demon sect. They were so feminine that they even had rouge on their faces. Even Yuqin, who cared about appearances, couldn't bring herself to like the 4 of them. She even felt a trace of disgust. They're just a few sissies. Ning Tian smiled indifferently. Sissies? Hearing this, the surrounding people were stunned. You're the sissies. Annoying. I'm not a sissies. How dare you? That's right. Sister Yume, look at him. Hearing the word sissies, the 4 of them immediately exploded and hurriedly said to Yume, how dare you? You're the ugly You dare to talk about my manservant? Yume's beautiful eyes were filled with anger as she walked towards Ning Tian. She pointed at his nose and scolded. Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself in the mirror? Look at yourself. Slap. Before he could finish his words, a crisp sound of a slap rang out. A fiery red palm print instantly appeared on Yume's face. She felt a burning pain. Everyone was stunned. You dare to hit me? Yume covered her face in disbelief. Why can't I hit you? Ning Tian spread out his hands with an innocent face. You Yume felt like she was about to explode. I'm the 63rd princess of the kingdom of gods. And you're just a lowly slave. Slap. Another crisp sound of a slap rang out. This was great. Yume felt a burning pain on both sides of her face. Yume was about to curse again, but suddenly, she saw Ning Tian looking at her indifferently. His eyes were incomparably cold and contained a faint, killing intent. It was as if he came from hell. Everyone around him was stunned. Suddenly, Ning Tian looked at the Moon Spirit Princess and asked, "Princess, can I kill someone?" "Can kill someone?" Hearing this, the surrounding people were incomparably shocked. Kill someone? He wanted to kill Princess Yume in this supreme secret realm? What guts! This? The Moon Spirit Princess was stunned for a moment before shaking her head. If you kill someone in the supreme secret realm, you will be hunted down endlessly by the kingdom of gods. Chase? Ning Tian pondered for a moment. Although behind him was the huge Tianma cult, in theory, he wasn't afraid of the kingdom of gods. However, it wasn't worth it to incur the enmity of the kingdom of gods for a mere Yume. This Yume wasn't worthy. After all, he clearly understood that the Tianma cult now had the righteous Tao Alliance as an enemy. If he attracted the hostility of a kingdom of gods that also had a great emperor, then the gains wouldn't make up for the losses. Facing two great emperors, Luo Wuqing might not be able to deal with them. Therefore, he couldn't bring about endless trouble for a moment of pleasure. Forget it. Consider yourself lucky. Ning Tian indifferently glanced at Yume, his eyes flashing with killing intent. Yume was stunned for a moment, thinking that Ning Tian had been intimidated by the endless pursuit. She immediately snorted coldly, "Come on. Why don't you continue to hit me? Why don't you dare?" Ning Tian shouted out in a beautiful language. F***. She had never seen such a strange request in her life. "Then, I'll satisfy you." Following that, there was a series of violent beating sounds. Bang! 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 The sound of fists hitting flesh made the surrounding people tremble with fear. This fellow Taoist Ning Shui is so ruthless. A moment later, Yume was beaten into a pig's head. Chapter 169. Hiss. Seeing this scene, Moon Spirit and Yuqin were somewhat astonished. Fellow Taoist Ning Shui really didn't care about the fairer sex at all. You shocked Princess Moon Spirit. You shocked Yuqin. Reward. Music Tao Talent. Transcending Lightning Tribulation Tune. Transcending Lightning Tribulation Tune. Using the music Tao to play, it can absorb the divine lightning Tao rhyme of the lightning tribulation. In his mind, the system's voice sounded. Ning Tian stopped beating her up. At this time, Princess Yume had been beaten into a pig's head. It was simply too horrible to look at. I didn't expect that ugly baddie to be so ruthless to a woman. At the side, Yuqin sighed. She thought that Ning Tian was like those men who only thought with their lower body and couldn't move when they saw a woman. She didn't expect that Ning Tian would be so decisive. He directly went up and beat her up. Why can't I do it? Do I have to give in to her just because she's a woman? Ning Tian felt that this was very strange. She wasn't his wife. Why couldn't he beat her up? Of course, if his wife did something bad, he would still beat her up. He had to have a fierce fight. However, the place of the fight could be on a soft bed. After all, the bed was soft and wouldn't be easy to get hurt in a fight. Cough cough. He was also trying to save money on the Tianma cult's medical expenses. Yes, that's right. You actually dare to hit Sister Yume. At this moment, the four effeminate-looking men finally reacted. They all looked at Ning Tian with ugly expressions. "Oh, I almost forgot about you guys when you didn't speak." Ning Tian looked at the four of them and a cold light flashed in his eyes. "Since you guys like to be sissy, why don't I let you be a little more thorough?" With that, Ning Tian walked towards the four of them with a smirk on his face. What are you doing? Don't come over. Don't come over." The four of them were a little panicked. However, they were only Earth King 1 star. How could they be a match for Ning Tian? Ning Tian turned into an afterimage. Flames flickered in his hand. He punched out with a flame tyrant fist. In just one move, the four of them were beaten to the ground. This guy's strength is not bad. Seeing this, Yuqin frowned and snorted. It's only a tenth of mine. Following that, a miserable scream. Accompanying the scream was the sound of a man's egg breaking in fear and a woman's blushing face. Crack. The moon spirit princess and Yuqin both blushed and silently averted their gazes. This fellow Daoist Ning was actually an egg-shattering killer. Screams could be heard. Uyy, suus, uuyuu. They didn't use Yayan Yuyuet. Although Ning Tian didn't kill them, she could make them suffer a fate worse than death. After casually dealing with the 5 of them, Ning Tian looked at the moon spirit princess and Yuqin and smiled. I'm going. Be careful. If you can't do it, come back. The moon spirit princess nodded and looked at Ning Tian worriedly. Even she was a little puzzled as to why she was worried about fellow Daoist Ning Shuai. This fellow Daoist Ning Shuai was obviously extremely ugly, but why did he always vaguely attract her? Could it be that she really liked ugly people? The moon spirit princess shook her head and looked at the scorched earth minefield. Ning Tian had already slowly walked into it. When Ning Tian stepped into the scorched earth minefield, he could feel that the air was filled with traces of thunder and tint. If this thunder and tint entered a cultivator's body, it would probably cause harm. However, a mere thunder and tint couldn't cause any harm to Ning Tian. Don't forget, he had mastered the divine thunder Dao. As Ning Tian walked deeper and deeper, his body was constantly attacked by lightning. Senior sister, the ugly big bad guy seems to be very relaxed. Yuqin looked at her body and looked inside. Seeing Ning Tian walking in the scorched earth minefield as if he was taking a stroll, she couldn't help but be a little surprised. That's just before. The moon spirit princess wasn't as relaxed as Yuqin. Instead, she was a little nervous. She had tried the scorched earth minefield twice, and she could also walk to Ning Tian's position. However, when she reached the center of the scorched earth minefield, she couldn't move an inch. That was because that place contained the power of a powerful primogenitor's attack. The thunder tribulation there was the most ferocious. Next is the real test. The moon spirit princess murmured. She looked at the figure in the scorched earth minefield with a worried gaze. The closer to the center, the more violent the lightning became. Under the 2 women's gazes, Ning Tian stepped into the center of the scorched earth minefield. Suddenly, Yuqin let out a puzzled voice. Her small mouth opened slightly. Why did he stop? Could it be that he can't go in? On the side, the moon spirit princess gritted her teeth and remained silent. Her palms were sweating nervously. Seeing Ning Tian stop in place, she hesitated. She knew very well how terrifying the thunder tribulation in the middle was. The slightest carelessness could cause serious injuries. Serious injuries didn't matter, but the violent lightning would remain in the body. That was the most fatal thing. Sigh, she sighed faintly and was about to open her mouth to call Ning Tian back. But suddenly, the 2 women realized that although this guy didn't continue to move forward, he sat down. What is the ugly big bad guy doing? Yuqin was stunned. The moon spirit princess was also puzzled. At the center of the scorched earth minefield, wind and clouds surged here, and lightning filled the air. The air was filled with violent lightning. Ning Tian sat cross-legged and asked the system in his mind, System, is there really divine thunder Taoist rhyme left behind by the ancestor? The reason why he stopped here was because the system just notified him that there was divine thunder Taoist rhyme left behind by the ancestor. The system, of course. The host can sense and absorb the thunder tribulation by using the music Dao talent. Okay, I understand. Ning Tian nodded. Immediately after, he took out the immortal slashing zither from his storage ring and placed it on his lap. What is he doing? He's still in the mood to play the zither? Seeing this scene, Yuqin was stunned. No, I'm afraid it's not that simple. The moon spirit princess shook her head as a glint flashed across her beautiful eyes. Her gaze fell on the immortal slashing zither on Ning Tian's lap. Bursts of music Dao rhyme flowed on the immortal slashing zither. It was extremely extraordinary. It's an immortal tool. The moon spirit princess was a little surprised. Immortal tool? A hint of astonishment flashed across Yuqin's eyes. "SK, I didn't expect the ugly big bad guy to be so rich. But what is he trying to do? Just watch," the moon spirit princess said. Her beautiful eyes flashed as she looked at Ning Tian and muttered to herself, "Cultivator Ning Tian, you seem to be getting more and more extraordinary." Chapter 170. In the Scorched Earth Minefield. Ning Tian took a deep breath and placed his hand on the immortal slashing guzheng. Clang. Guzheng music began to play. Ning Tian said in his heart, "System, activate Lightning Tribulation Song." Activating Music Dao Talent, Lightning Tribulation Song. Activation successful. As the system's voice fell, a music score appeared in front of Ning Tian, guiding him to play. Clang, clang, clang. The guzheng music soon spread throughout the entire Scorched Earth minefield. In the blink of an eye, the surrounding thunder and lightning became violent. This heavenly music, hearing the celestial music, Princess Moon Spirit and Yuqin were both stunned. They were deeply immersed in the music of the zither. What a powerful music Dao. I didn't expect Ning Shuai's music Dao talent to be so strong. Princess Moon Spirit sighed in her heart. His music Dao attainment was even stronger than some of the musicians in her divine nation. Compared to Ning Tian's guzheng music, the music played by those great musicians was simply a mess. Boom. At this moment, the heavenly music of the guzheng was heard. The entire Scorched Earth minefield was filled with violent lightning and tint, and the dark clouds between heaven and earth changed color. Boom, boom. In the sky, it was as if divine lightning had descended, and a terrifying aura spread out from the center of the Scorched Earth minefield. This is? Princess Moon Spirit and Yuqin were both stunned, and their eyes flashed with astonishment. Why was there such an enormous lightning while appearing all of a sudden? Boom. At this moment, a thunderous roar exploded. Lightning exploded, and the lightning and tint in the Scorched Earth minefield vaguely began to condense at this moment. In the sky, 100-meter-long lightning dragon, formed by lightning tribulation, circled in the dark clouds. That's the dragon race? Princess Moon Spirit was stunned. No, this is lightning tribulation, and within it, there's the aura of our Wushang primogenitor. She suddenly reacted and looked at Ning Tian in shock. Her voice was filled with disbelief. He can actually activate the divine lightning Taoist rhyme left behind by our Wushang primogenitor? Roar. The lightning tribulation dragon covered the clouds and the sun, constantly moving in and out of the dark clouds. As the guzheng music continued to play, more and more lightning will appeared in the surroundings, surging towards the lightning calamity dragon in the sky. Soon, after continuously absorbing the lightning will, the lightning tribulation dragon grew from 100 meters to 1,000 meters. Roar. It was as if the entire supreme mystic realm could hear his roar. At that moment, the Moon Spirit Princess and Yuqin were both shocked speechless. Don't ask. The shocking reward will be postponed. The two women didn't expect that fellow Taoist Ning Shuai would cause such a huge commotion after entering the Scorched Earth minefield. Accompanied by the celestial music of the zither, the lightning dragon gradually grew larger. At this moment, the commotion in the Scorched Earth minefield had attracted many people from the Supreme Secret Realm. Supreme Secret Realm, Yellow Springs Waterfall. Zhuge Yu carried the 132nd prince, and there were a few people beside him. Boom. Suddenly, the sound of thunder could be heard. Roar. Following that, a furious roar rang out as a gigantic figure appeared in the sky. That is, Zhuge Yu's pupils shrank as a glint flashed across his eyes. Woo-woo. Ah woo-woo. At that moment, the 132nd prince in his arms was frightened by the sound of thunder and began to cry loudly. Young Master Zhuge, the 132nd prince pooped. A maid beside him hurriedly said, Pooped? Zhuge Yu's expression changed as he instantly smelled a pungent fragrance. His face instantly darkened. Prepare a new set of clothes for me. I want to go and take a look. Zhuge Yu took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, Yes. On the other side, Qin Haoran, who was preparing to search for the legendary item in the mystic moon realm, suddenly heard a thunderous roar and was stunned. He looked up at the sky and saw dark clouds covering the sun in the distance. He could vaguely see a lightning dragon circling. That is, Qin Haoran's expression darkened as a hint of seriousness flashed across his eyes. This lightning tribulation is so powerful. Could it be related to the legendary item in the mystic moon realm? Qin Haoran pondered. After pondering for a moment, he waved at his subordinates and said calmly, "Let's go and take a look." Yes, First Prince. Lightning Cliff. More and more people came to the vicinity of Lightning Cliff. They could not help but feel confused when they saw the figure in the scorched earth. F***CK. Why do I see that ugly guy everywhere I go? Could it be that he's the one who caused the lightning tribulation? At this moment, the crowd that saw this scene were all astonished. The unfettered saint and the first prince are here too. At that moment, a voice rang out. As expected, Zhuge Yu and Qin Haoran came to the vicinity of Lightning Cliff. Zhuge Yu had some connections with the royal family of the Divine Kingdom. That was why he could carry the 132nd prince into the mystic moon realm. At that moment, Zhuge Yu and Qin Haoran were looking at the huge lightning dragon in the sky with a serious expression. "Senior sister, a lot of people are attracted here. Won't they disturb the ugly baddie?" Seeing more and more people around them, Yuqin frowned. Although she did not know what Ning Tian was going to do, she could tell that he could not be disturbed. Chapter 171. Don't worry. The Moon Spirit Princess shook her head and said, "The lightning tribulation in this scorched earth minefield is much stronger than before. If these people don't want to die, they won't go in." Her gaze was fixed on Ning Tian the entire time. She was a little confused. What exactly is fellow Taoist Ning Shui doing? Using the Tao of entertainment to control the lightning dragon. That's not easy. Zhuge Yu waved his fan and looked serious. This person looked extremely ugly, but his talent was not as good as his. Lightning dragon? Could it be that the lightning dragon is the legendary treasure of Mystic Moon? Qin Haoran thought for a while, and his eyes lit up. If it was really the legendary treasure of Mystic Moon, then don't blame him for being ruthless. Boom, boom. At that moment, the lightning tribulation surged. The sound of thunder could be heard continuously. Roar. At that moment, the lightning dragon in the dark clouds roared and charged towards Ning Tian, who was playing the heavenly music in the scorched earth minefield. Roar. The sound of the lightning tribulation could be heard continuously. It was like a monstrous divine might, causing many people's expressions to change greatly. What a terrifying lightning tribulation. That ugly guy is still playing the guzheng. He doesn't know what's good for him. Everyone was discussing among themselves as they looked at Ning Tian with disdain. In their eyes, Ning Tian's actions were no different from seeking his own death. "I've fed it enough." However, Ning Tian's eyes shone brightly and a smile appeared on her lips. He played the guzheng just now to gather all the lightning will and capture it all in one fell swoop, passing the lightning tribulation with one song. As he activated his Tao of entertainment talent, Ning Tian's aura changed and he was like a great musician. The heavenly music continued and the people around him were shocked. They were intoxicated by it. Clang, clang, clang. Ning Tian's fingers moved faster and faster. The guzheng heavenly music was unpredictable and excited. Boom. At that moment, the Tao of entertainment exploded. The guzheng music vaguely formed a huge dragon of the Tao of music. Damn. Using music to take form, this is F***king. This fellow's talent in the Tao of entertainment is probably infinitely close to perfection. Countless people around the Thunder Light Cliff were extremely shocked when they saw the huge entertainment dragon that appeared behind Ning Tian, accompanied by the celestial zither music. In his heart, it was as if thousands of alpacas were galloping madly in his heart. How could this unassuming guy be so strong? However, they had forgotten an ancient saying. One could not judge a book by its cover. Roar. The dragon of music Tao let out a furious roar, but what came out was music theory that was full of murderous intent. This fellow Taoist Ning Shui's talent is so great. Princess Moon Spirit's eyes were filled with shock. "SK, I didn't expect the ugly baddie to have such talent." Yuqin shook her head and sighed. Qin Haoran and Zhuge Yu were also slightly shocked. They looked up at the sky and saw the two dragons that were fighting non-stop. Roar! The Dragon of Thunder Tribulation and the Dragon of Entertainment were fighting non-stop. From the beginning to the end, the Dragon of Entertainment had the upper hand. As it continued to fight, the Dragon of Thunder Tribulation became smaller and smaller, along with the music of the zither. In just a few minutes, the Dragon of Thunder Tribulation that was originally 1,000 meters long was consumed by the music to only a few hundred meters long. Moreover, it was still constantly changing. Seeing this scene, everyone around the Thunder Light Cliff was a little puzzled. Could it be that this guy is refining the Dragon of Thunder Tribulation? He wants to absorb the divine Thunder Taoist rhyme left behind by the ancestor of Thunder Tribulation. Qin Haoran's eyes were full of seriousness as he could not help but guess. What? Refining the Dragon of Thunder Tribulation? He wants to absorb the divine Thunder Taoist rhyme left behind by the ancestor of Thunder Tribulation. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. The Moon Spirit Princess and Yuqin were also a little shocked. They did not expect that fellow Taoist Ning Shuai's goal was actually the divine Thunder Taoist rhyme left behind by the ancestor of Thunder Tribulation. Could it be that, as the third imperial uncle said, he has actually stepped onto the ninth step? At this time, the Moon Spirit Princess thought of Qin Feng's words again. But he had clearly only stepped onto the eighth step. Thousands of doubts in her heart, the Moon Spirit Princess shook her head and could only continue to look at Ning Tian. Absorbing the divine Thunder Taoist rhyme left behind by the ancestor of Thunder Tribulation was indeed a little shocking. However, there were also people with bad intentions who wanted to cause trouble, but before they could get close, they were seriously injured by the violent lightning in the scorched earth lightning area. Seeing this, even if they wanted to snatch it, they could only choose to watch at this moment. Boom! Dozens of minutes later, the Dragon of Music Dao swallowed the Dragon of Thunder Tribulation that was only dozens of meters long. And it was also in an instant that Ning Tian's hand fell on the zither strings, and the music stopped. A song of Thunder Tribulation, and the music disappeared at the end of the song. Congratulations to the host for absorbing the divine Thunder Taoist rhyme. The Tao of Wind and Thunder has reached another level. Current attainments in the Tao of Wind and Thunder have reached a higher level. Can master powerful lightning attacks. Lightning swam around Ning Tian's body. The system's voice sounded again. You shocked the first prince of the divine kingdom, Qin Haoran. You shocked the Moon Spirit Princess. You shocked Yuqin. You shocked the unfettered sacred ground's holy son, Zhuge Yu. You shocked everyone. Advanced achievement achieved. A song of Thunder Tribulation shocked everyone. Reward. Heavenly Venerate Trial Card. Heavenly Venerate Trial Card. After use, obtain the strength of a Heavenly Venerate. Duration, 2 days. After use, this card is invalid. Chapter 172. Heavenly Venerate Trial Card? Hearing that, Ning Tian was stunned. He didn't expect that the reward for achieving an achievement would be so good. At the very least, the duration of the Heavenly Venerate Trial Card was 2 days. However, since there was a Heavenly Venerate Trial Card, would there be a Great Emperor Trial Card? As if it knew what Ning Tian was thinking, the system's answer quickly sounded in his mind. System. As long as the host achieves a higher shocking achievement, the reward will naturally be generous. Understood. The corner of Ning Tian's mouth lifted slightly, and he nodded secretly. The song dissipated, and the heavenly music ended. At this time, the surrounding people who were in shock slowly came back to their senses, and they all looked at Ning Tian in astonishment. They didn't expect this ordinary-looking guy to have such attainments in the Tao of Entertainment. TSK. This guy is something. The princes and princesses of the peerless divine kingdoms shook their heads inwardly. At this moment, the Thunder Tribulation dissipated, and countless divine Thunder Taoist rhymes gathered toward Ning Tian. Seeing this scene, the princes and princesses were envious. Suddenly, They came to their senses and thought of something. That's not right. Isn't this divine thunder attainment the ancestors? How could it be taken away by an outsider? The group of people gritted their teeth. This should have belonged to them, but now it was taken away by an outsider. Most importantly, they couldn't do anything about it. There were still remnants of lightning while in the scorched earth lightning area. They could only grit their teeth and watch Ning Tian absorb the divine thunder Taoist rhymes with a satisfied face. There was only one word to describe their feelings. F***sike. Hee. I'm satisfied. Ning Tian grinned. The attainments left by other great emperors were so fragrant. Soon after, his gaze looked towards a certain area of the lightning-like cliff. There, purple lightning flashed, and there was a faint light ball. It contained exactly what the Moon Spirit Princess wanted. Ning Tian used the swimming dragon steps and stepped on the swimming dragon. In a flash, he arrived at the bottom of Thunder Cliff. Immediately, he leaped and approached the edge of the cliff. In an instant, the purple lightning was as sharp as a snake. However, Ning Tian didn't even look at the purple lightning. The divine thunder way in his body circulated, and the lightning around him turned into a lightning dragon that roared at the snake-like purple lightning. Purple lightning was startled and immediately dived into the crack in the cliff. As the purple lightning dissipated, Ning Tian reached out his hand and successfully obtained the item within. It was an ancient sheepskin scroll. High-level Earth-class technique, heavenly thunder art. So, Princess Moon Spirit also wants to cultivate the divine thunder Tao. Ning Tian muttered. He was not interested in this cultivation technique. It was fine if it was of a low level, but his way of wind and thunder did not require the assistance of this sky thunder technique. Princess Moon Spirit, I've helped you get what you wanted. Ning Tian smiled, turned around, and jumped down from the Thunder Light Cliff. But at this moment, at the bottom of Thunder Light Cliff, there was a sudden explosion. Then, a bright luster appeared and slowly flew out from the abyss below the lightning cliff. What is that? Seeing the luster flying out from the abyss of Thunder Light Cliff, the surrounding people were stunned, and a hint of doubt flashed in their eyes. Seeing this, Qin Haoran's eyes flashed, and his entire body quietly circulated the spiritual energy. Could this be the legendary secret realm item of Mystic Moon? Everyone looked at the luster that emerged from the abyss of Thunder Light Cliff. It's been tens of thousands of years. Finally, someone can awaken the Emperor's soul that this old man left behind in the supreme secret realm. An old voice emerged from the ball of light. Then, the ball of light dissipated, and a white-haired old man's remnant soul appeared in front of everyone. This old man looks so familiar. I seem to have seen him there before. It seems to be on the portrait in the Supreme Hall. F***K. Isn't this our ancestor, the Supreme Primogenitor? Supreme Primogenitor. Seeing this scene, the group of princes and princesses of the Supreme Kingdom all changed their expressions slightly. Their eyes were filled with reverence as they slowly knelt down. Greetings, Supreme Primogenitor. Greetings, Supreme Primogenitor. I didn't expect that there would be a remnant soul of the Supreme Primogenitor here. Qin Haoran looked at the white-haired old man with a burning gaze and slowly knelt down on one knee. If the Supreme Primogenitor's remnant soul had survived until now, then he must have left behind something good. Supreme Primogenitor? Ning Tian looked at the remnant soul in front of him strangely and could not help but complain in his heart. Why is there another one who is not completely dead yet? Why don't you kneel when you see the Supreme Primogenitor? The Supreme Primogenitor looked at Ning Tian and asked faintly, Kneel? Ning Tian glanced at him. It had been 100,000 years, and this guy had no power at all. What was there to be afraid of? I'm not kneeling, Ning Tian said faintly. What a joke. He did not even kneel on the washboard of the Empress. You, a remnant soul that had been dead for 100,000 years, and you want me to kneel? Dream on. The Supreme Primogenitor was stunned for a moment, and a look of displeasure flashed across his eyes. His gaze swept across Ning Tian's body, and suddenly he was stunned. This kid has the aura of a Supreme Emperor on him? The Supreme Primogenitor's solemn gaze fell on Ning Tian's chest. That was the formation that Luo Wuqing had planted for him. Naturally, there was a powerful Supreme Emperor aura left behind. I didn't expect that this kid has a Supreme Emperor behind him. Immediately, the Supreme Primogenitor was relieved. It seemed that their Supreme Kingdom was getting stronger and stronger. Cough, cough. Forget it. Forget it. Since you're the one who woke me up, I won't pursue it. The Supreme Primogenitor coughed dryly and shook his head. When did I wake you up? Ning Tian expressed his doubts. You don't know? I left a sentence in the Mystic Moon Legendary Classic. Sweep away the lightning tribulation and summon my remnant soul. The Supreme Primogenitor explained. What Mystic Moon Legendary Classic? Ning Tian was dumbfounded. He had just absorbed the divine lightning Tao rhymes. How did he awaken the remnant soul of a Supreme Emperor? So, that's the meaning of that sentence. Not far away, Qin Haoran came to a realization. He had seen such a sentence in the Mystic Moon Legendary Classic before, but he had been unable to comprehend it. So, that was the meaning. Since you've awakened my remnant soul, young man, I see that you're a one-in-a-million martial arts genius. I'll rely on you to maintain world peace. I have a secret manual here. The Supreme Primogenitor looked at Ning Tian with a smile and slowly spoke. However, before he finished speaking, he was interrupted by Ning Tian. Stop, stop. Ning Tian looked at the Supreme Primogenitor impatiently. Why was this guy's line so familiar? Young man, what's wrong? The Supreme Primogenitor looked at Ning Tian. You old man, you wouldn't cheat me, right? Ning Tian looked at the Supreme Primogenitor suspiciously. How could there be such a good thing as a gift of martial arts on their first meeting? However, the Supreme Primogenitor only smiled and said, Young man, don't worry. How could I cheat the descendant of my Supreme Kingdom? This is a middle-grade heaven-class palm technique, Supreme Chaos Palm. I'll give it to you. The future of the Supreme Kingdom will be in your hands. Chapter 173. Mid-Heaven Tier Palm Technique? Hearing these words, Ning Tian's eyes lit up. Did Wushang Primogenitor mistake him for a descendant of the Divine Kingdom? Cough, cough. Rest assured, Primogenitor. With this Supreme Primordial Chaos Palm, I'll definitely protect our Divine Kingdom. Ning Tian coughed dryly, patted his chest, and promised. Since he admitted his mistake, he would make the best of it. Hearing this, the surrounding princes and princesses were stunned. This guy didn't seem to be a descendant of the Divine Kingdom, right? F***CK. Shameless. Then, Ning Tian's sneaky voice sounded. When the time comes, I'll burn a few beautiful paper figurines for you. Cough. Stop, stop. Wushang Primogenitor put his hand by his mouth and coughed dryly. Am I that kind of person? Really, burning a few is too wasteful. You young people just like to waste. Remember, just burn one. My body isn't too good, you know. Cough, cough. I know. Ning Tian gave him a look in response. These two. The surrounding people couldn't help but be stunned. I didn't expect Wushang Primogenitor to be such a person. Yuqin felt that the image of Wushang Primogenitor collapsed in her heart. All right, I didn't expect that although this descendant of yours looks a little ugly, he knows how to be a person. Wushang Primogenitor nodded in satisfaction and opened his hand slightly. His soul energy turned into an incomplete book and slowly handed it to Ning Tian. This is our Divine Kingdom's secret treasure, a mid-heaven tier martial art, Supreme Primordial Chaos Palm. Thank you. Ning Tian received it. Wushang Primogenitor's soul slowly dissipated. It's actually the Supreme Primordial Chaos Palm. I thought it was lost. I didn't expect that this kid actually obtained the Supreme Primordial Chaos Palm. I'm envious. The group of princes and princesses of the Divine Kingdoms looked at Ning Tian enviously. No, isn't this our Divine Kingdom's inheritance? This kid is an outsider. How did he get it? At this moment, they reacted. Primogenitor, this kid isn't a descendant of our divine nation. Qin Haoran said sternly as he pointed at Ning Tian. What? Wushang Primogenitor was taken aback and looked at the smiling Ning Tian. F***CK. You little thief. How dare you lie to this primogenitor? I don't care. You have to burn the beauty paper doll that you promised me. As soon as he finished speaking, the last bit of his soul power slowly dissipated. Even if Ning Tian was a fake, he didn't have the power to do anything. He could only fight for his own interests. Detected that the host has absorbed the mid-grade heaven tier martial art, Supreme Primordial Chaos Palm, comprehending it at 10 times the speed. While Ning Tian was comprehending, a few pairs of eyes immediately glanced at him. That was the Supreme Primeval Chaos Palm. If they could learn it, it would be a great leap in their strength. Most importantly, this was the Wushang primogenitor's famous consummate skill. There might be other comprehensions of the Wushang primogenitor hidden in it. At this moment, as the Wushang primogenitor's remnant soul dissipated, the terrifying lightning intent around the scorched earth gradually dissipated. In an instant, those ferocious eyes looked at Ning Tian. Kid, hand over the Supreme Primordial Chaos Palm. Qin Haoran glared at Ning Tian fiercely. When the Divine Moon phenomenon appeared, he had already kowtowed 3 times to it. But why did the treasure of the mystic realm belong to this ugly guy? *CK sooner or later, he would chop off that imperial astronomer's dog head. Hand it over? In your dreams. Ning Tian looked at Qin Haoran as if he was looking at a fool. Would you be willing to spit out what you had eaten? Then don't blame me for being impolite. Qin Haoran's eyes flashed fiercely. The surrounding princes and princesses were also glaring at him. Ah, senior sister, what should we do? The ugly baddie has become the target of public criticism. Yu Qin was a little worried when she saw this scene from the side. There were hundreds of people present, and most of them were Earth King realm experts. With Qin Haoran, who was at the peak of the Holy Emperor realm, how could Ning Tian be their match? The Moon Spirit Princess's face was a little ugly. In this situation, her words were useless. Now, the best way was to get Ning Shui to hand over the Supreme Primordial Chaos Palm. Ning Shui, you should hand it over. Otherwise, even I can't protect you. The Moon Spirit Princess looked at Ning Tian with her beautiful eyes. Her voice was filled with helplessness and worry. It's okay. They can't do anything to me. Ning Tian only shook his head. Can't do anything to you? Qin Haoran sneered. He could clearly sense that Ning Tian's strength was only at the peak of the Earth King realm, and he was at the peak of the Holy Emperor realm. Ning Cho, hurry up and hand it over. Hand it over. Hand over the Supreme Primordial Chaos Palm. Ning Cho. These princes and princesses were all criticizing Ning Cho, and Ning Tian's mouth twitched. At this moment, Qin Haoran walked over. His aura surged, and his clothes fluttered in the wind. I gave you a chance, but you didn't cherish it, Qin Haoran said coldly. Then, his figure disappeared. In the blink of an eye, he appeared beside Ning Tian and struck out with his palm. His aura surged, and he moved. The Crown Prince is so fast. Seeing this scene, the princes and princesses were shocked. His strength is indeed above mine. The Moon Spirit Princess murmured, her eyes filled with seriousness. It's over. The ugly big bad guy is going to be beaten up. Yu Qin exclaimed, not daring to look at the next scene. Facing the palm, Ning Tian was calm. He said in his heart, System, activate the Heavenly Venerate trial card. Using the Heavenly Venerate trial card. Heavenly Venerate trial card. Successful use. Obtained 1 star of the Heavenly Venerate realm. Countdown, 2 days. Supreme Primordial Chaos Palm successfully comprehended. With the successful activation of the Heavenly Venerate trial card, the Supreme Primordial Chaos Palm was also successfully comprehended at this moment. Boom. Then, spiritual energy exploded on Ning Tian's body. His aura was vast. Kid, hand it over. Qin Haoran rushed in front of him, the corners of his mouth raised into a sinister smile. Around them, many princes and princesses were gloating. The Moon Spirit Princess bit her red lips, her palms full of sweat. Yu Qin covered her eyes with her hands, but there was a gap, secretly peeking. Under everyone's gaze, Ning Tian just waved his palm very casually and spat out a word. Get lost. Boom. In an instant, a terrifying pressure instantly enveloped Qin Haoran. The complacency on his face came to an abrupt end, and his body flew out in an instant. F***C. Heavenly Venerate Realm Powerhouse? Boom. Qin Haoran's body was like a cannonball, instantly blasted away and embedded into the cliff of Thunderlight Cliff. The entire Thunderlight Cliff collapsed in an instant, directly burying Qin Haoran in it. Everything happened too suddenly, in the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint. Before everyone could react, they were all stunned on the spot. Chapter 174. By the time they reacted, Qin Haoran had already been crushed by the rubble. Sky. Empyrean Realm? Seeing Ning Tian casually send Qin Haoran flying with a palm, the group of princes and princesses were immediately dumbfounded. This ordinary-looking guy was actually an Empyrean Realm powerhouse? He's an Empyrean Realm? Seeing this scene, Princess Moon Spirit and Yuqin both covered their small mouths, their faces full of shock. It turned out that fellow Taoist Ning Shui was so strong. You shocked everyone, rewarded with spiritual qi cultivation plus 100. Ning Tian was a little excited in his heart. He did not expect this supreme primordial chaos palm to be so strong. Just now, he only used 10% of his strength, and Qin Haoran was sent flying. It seemed that there were still many treasures in this supreme secret realm. Should he take advantage of this opportunity to take all the treasures in the supreme secret realm in one fell swoop? In his mind, once he had an idea, he wanted to realize it. Taking advantage of this opportunity to plunder the supreme divine kingdom's cultivation mystic realm, this should not be too much, right? Immediately, he looked fiercely at the group of princes and princesses and smiled coldly. Just now, you guys called Ning Cho very happily, right? No. The group of princes and princesses revealed a smile that was uglier than crying. Oh, is that so? Ning Tian smiled. Life and death were unpredictable. In a blink of an eye, he turned into an afterimage and flashed beside the group of princes and princesses. Following that, waves of screams, accompanied by the sound of fists hitting flesh, rang out. A few minutes later, all the princes and princesses who called Ning Cho were beaten until their noses were bruised and their faces were swollen, like a big pig head. Seeing this scene, for some reason, Yume felt a trace of comfort in her heart. Even if it was a pig head, she also wanted to be the most beautiful one among the pig heads. Still dare to call me Ning Cho? Ning Tian looked coldly at the group of princes and princesses. Ouch, we don't dare. Amidst the wailing, the group of princes and princesses hurriedly shook their heads. Everyone, call me Handsome Ning 1,000 times, or else. Ning Tian's eyes flashed with a hint of coldness. Yes, Handsome Ning. In the end, under Ning Tian's pressure, the group of princes and princesses went against their conscience and said these words. Most importantly, looking at Ning Tian's incomparably ugly face, they were really afraid of being struck by lightning if they called him handsome. That went against his conscience. Fellow Taoist Ning Shui, seeing the princes and princesses crying for Ning Tian, Handsome Ning, Princess Moon Spirit, and Yuqin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. After 1,000 times, the group of princes and princesses seemed to have become numb. Let's go. Take me to all the secret treasures in the supreme mystery land. Ning Tian narrowed his eyes and ordered the princes and princesses. Handsome Ning, what are you doing? The princes and princesses were stunned. Hee, of course, I'm going to raid your supreme secret realm. Ning Tian laughed. Hearing this, the princes and princesses were dumbfounded. Their faces were filled with anger. This was too much, too shameless. She had never seen such a shameless person before. Thief Ning. The princes and princesses cursed in their hearts. This guy, not only did he cheat the Wushang ancestor, but now he actually wanted to rob their supreme secret realm of their treasures. Handsome Ning, you can't. A prince stepped forward angrily, but before he could finish speaking, he was sent flying by a punch. After a 360-degree rotation in the air, he fell unconscious on the ground. Is there anyone else who is dissatisfied? Ning Tian looked at the princes and princesses indifferently. The princes and princesses, damn it. Of course we are dissatisfied. But if you have the guts, put down your fist. Since no one is dissatisfied, then hurry up and find it for me. Then, even if the princes and princesses were dissatisfied, they could only take Ning Tian to various places in the secret realm to look for opportunities. After all, his heavenly venerable strength was there, and no one was a match for him. As a result, voices came out one after another from the supreme secret realm. Handsome Ning, there's a profound grade martial art here. Coming. Handsome Ning, there's a treasure here. Treasure? It's too trashy, no? Handsome Ning, there seems to be an opportunity here. Where is it? I'm coming. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. Even Qin Haoran was forced to join the team to search for opportunities in the supreme secret realm for Ning Tian. Seeing the thing that they longed for being eaten by Ning Tian in one bite, they gnashed their teeth in anger. These 2 days, these princes and princesses had been beaten up quite a bit. It was simply miserable. Finally, on the last day, the door of the supreme secret realm opened. These princes and princesses were so excited that tears of excitement flowed out of their eyes. Although they didn't get anything in the secret realm, they were extremely excited to be able to leave now. Sob sob. We've finally escaped from handsome Ning's clutches in the Divine Kingdom's plaza. Today was the day the supreme secret realm opened. Many ministers and generals of the Divine Kingdom came to the plaza, all of them looking forward to it. In the previous supreme secret realms, there would always be more outstanding princes or princesses who obtained some better opportunities. And this time, who would be able to stand out? I think it must be the first prince, Qin Haoran. The imperial astronomer snorted. With the first prince's strength, he will definitely obtain the most powerful opportunity in the supreme secret realm. That might not be the case. After all, in the supreme secret realm, fate is greater than strength. I think the Moon Spirit Princess should be a good choice. Aren't you going to consider the 132nd prince? A minister said in an extremely serious manner. Get lost? How old is the 132nd prince? How can a mere baby obtain such a powerful opportunity? In the Divine Kingdom's plaza, countless people discussed animatedly. Boom. At this moment, the teleportation pillar emitted a series of rumbling sounds that went on for a long time. Following that, waves of golden light appeared on its surface. At this moment, the ancient words and runes were all lit up. Boom. Following that, a teleportation portal opened. One by one, figures charged out from within as though they had gone mad. Ha ha ha. I didn't expect the princes and princesses to be so excited. I'm sure they must be very happy in there. There must be a lot of opportunities and a lot of gains. Haha. The princes and princesses of our divine kingdom are so powerful. Seeing the princes and princesses rushing out of the teleportation portal with excitement on their faces, the ministers and generals laughed from the bottom of their hearts. But suddenly, someone noticed that something was wrong. Why were these princes and princesses all bruised and swollen faces? F***CK. The 77th prince is beaten into a pig's head. The 52nd princess is also beaten into a pig's head. Why does this pig's head look so familiar? F***CK. He is the first prince, Qin Haoran. Following that, waves of terrified voices spread throughout the entire Divine Kingdom's plaza. The ministers and generals were instantly dumbfounded. Why did these princes and princesses all become pigs' heads after entering the supreme secret realm for 2 days? Chapter 175. On the Divine Kingdom Plaza, countless ministers and generals looked at the princes and princesses walking out of the portals with strange expressions. It was really strange. All of them were beaten black and blue. Some of them even had pig heads. But why were these princes and princesses excitedly rushing out of the portal with tears of happiness in their eyes and smiles on their faces? I get it now. At this moment, just as everyone was puzzled, the imperial astronomer revealed a look of sudden realization. You get it now? All the ministers and generals looked over. Even some of the leaders of the factions looked over as well. The imperial astronomer looked excited. Yesterday, I observed the sky and found that there must be a treasure in the supreme arcane realm. Look at how excited the princes and princesses are. You must have obtained the treasure. Treasure? Everyone was stunned and puzzled. Then why are these princes and princesses all bruised and swollen? You don't understand. The imperial astronomer chuckled and said, this must be caused by the various princes and princesses during their cultivation. Otherwise, how could you still laugh when you were beaten up for no reason? How despicable must they be? Upon hearing the imperial astronomer's words, the surrounding ministers, generals, and faction leaders all nodded inwardly. The imperial astronomer's words made sense. Haha. Congratulations to all the princes and princesses for obtaining such a great opportunity. Congratulations. Congratulations. The imperial astronomer was the first to speak. Congratulations to the princes and princesses for obtaining the treasure. Congratulations. Congratulations. Immediately, the ministers and faction leaders didn't want to let go of this opportunity to curry favor. They all hurried to congratulate the princes and princesses. Many princes and princesses managed to escape. They felt extremely fortunate and secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Phew! F***ck. We finally escaped from that demon Ning Shuai. F***ck. Oh, this prince's handsome face, Io. The princes and princesses gritted their teeth in anger. They didn't believe that Ning Shuai would be so arrogant in the outside world. Demon? Ning Shuai? Who's that? The ministers were stunned when they heard the princes and princesses' words. Zhang Xian scratched his head in confusion. Ha ha ha. I understand now. The imperial astronomer's eyes lit up with excitement. This Marshal Ning must be an ancestor of our supreme divine nation in the past 100,000 years. The princes and princesses inadvertently activated Patriarch Ning Shuabi's remnant soul. In the end, Patriarch Ning Shuabi completed the trial. Although the princes and princesses were beaten black and blue, they also obtained great opportunities from it. Hiss, I see. This old man actually didn't know that our supreme divine nation had an ancestor called Ning Shuaibi. Forgive me for my disrespect, but why does the title of patriarch feel a little awkward? The ministers and generals were suddenly enlightened. Then, they looked at the princes and princesses excitedly. He was curious. What kind of fortuitous encounter did they obtain? Princes and princesses, may I ask what kind of fortune you have obtained? The imperial astronomer smiled at the princes and princesses. Around them, many curious gazes were directed at them. They were all curious. What kind of fortuitous encounter did the princes and princesses obtain after activating Patriarch Ning Shuabi's remnant soul? However, the princes and princesses ignored them. Instead, they looked as if they were looking for something. F***ck. Suddenly, one of the princes yelled. His eyes widened as he pointed in a direction. I see Marshal Ning. He's over there. Huh. Hearing this, the group of princes and princesses all looked in that direction with murderous gazes. Indeed, they saw a sneaky figure. F***ck. It's Marshal Ning. Catch him. Catch that bastard. Once we catch him, I'll beat him into a pig's head. Flick his little stars. Catch him. Don't let that bastard get away. Instantly, the princes and princesses were furious. They gritted their teeth and charged toward Ning Tian like hungry wolves pouncing on their prey. Hey, hey, hey. Seeing that the situation was unfavorable, Ning Tian said as he ran, Do you have to be so worked up? Didn't I just give you a facial massage? I even cleaned up all the trash in the supreme arcane realm for you. Instead of thanking me, you want to beat me up? Seriously, these days, good intentions don't pay off. The princes and princesses were so angry that they almost vomited blood. Facial massage? Bruises and swollen faces counted as a facial massage? F***ck. I can give you 10 facial massages like that. And the trash in the supreme arcane realm? That was clearly a fortuitous opportunity. Calling fortuitous opportunities trash. How shameless. F***ck. Catch Marshal Ning. I'm going to cut off his big baby and drink it with wine. Instantly, the princes and princesses charged even more ferociously. F***ck. Don't be so cruel. When Ning Tian heard that, he ran even faster. Seeing this, the princes and princesses gritted their teeth in anger. Why was this bastard running faster and faster? Soon, Ning Tian rushed out of the kingdom of God Square. Hundreds of princes and princesses chased after him. Everyone in the kingdom of God Square was speechless. They were all dumbfounded. They still couldn't figure out what was going on. The princes and princesses seemed to be calling the young man being chased Marshal Ning. Ahem. The imperial astronomer scratched his head awkwardly. He was also confused. What the hell is going on? At this moment, the first prince, Qin Haoran, slowly walked over. A group of ministers and generals immediately surrounded him. First prince, what is going on? The ministers and generals all asked. Qin Haoran gritted his teeth. His face was still bruised and his eyes were full of coldness. He slowly recounted what had happened in the Supreme Arcane Realm. What happened in the Supreme Arcane Realm was definitely a disgrace to him and the princes and princesses. What? When they heard Qin Haoran's story, the ministers and generals were so shocked that their jaws almost dropped. Marshal Ning not only took away all the fortuitous opportunities in the Supreme Arcane Realm, but he also beat up the princes and princesses of the Kingdom of God. At this moment, it was as if a raging storm had been set off in their hearts. The astonishment in their hearts was self-evident. Most importantly, Qin Haoran spoke again. A cold light flashed in his eyes. Marshal Ning also deceived the remnant soul of the Wushang primogeniture and obtained the Supreme Chaos Palm. Wow! This sentence instantly caused an uproar in the crowd. All of them widened their eyes in shock. F***CK. He deceived the remnant soul of the Wushang primogeniture? This kid is heaven-defying. And the Supreme Chaos Palm? Chapter 176. Wait, the Supreme Primeval Chaos Palm? Wasn't that the Supreme Primogenitors' famous ultimate technique? That was a mid-grade heaven-tier martial art. At this moment, the ministers and generals all widened their eyes. Their eyes were filled with deep fanaticism. What are you all doing here? Hurry up and bring people to chase after him. If we let handsome Ning escape, none of you will be able to escape responsibility. Father will deal with you after he comes out of seclusion. Qin Haoran glared at the group of ministers and generals and said coldly, Yes, Your Majesty. Then, bring people to capture handsome Ning. The ministers and generals trembled when they heard Qin Haoran mention the word father. Right now, the ruler of the divine nation was still cultivating in seclusion. If he was awakened, the consequences would be unimaginable. Soon after, a group of ministers and generals hurriedly set out to capture Marshal Ning. It's over, senior sister. What should we do? The ugly bad guy is going to be captured. Not far away, Yu Qin and Princess Moon's spirit stood aside. Seeing this scene, the little girl's expression instantly became a little worried. Princess Moon's spirit frowned slightly. She didn't know what to do either. Even now, she was still a little confused. How did things develop into this situation? Don't worry. If handsome Ning is captured, I will do my best to protect him. Princess Moon's spirit gritted her teeth. Sigh. The two girls sighed faintly. This was not something they could interfere in at all. At this moment, the entire Divine Nation City was in chaos. Countless cultivators in Divine Nation City saw a very spectacular scene. An ugly young man was running for his life, and behind him were many princes and princesses of the Supreme Primogeniture Nation. Most importantly, these princes and princesses all looked like hungry wolves pouncing on their prey. They kept shouting, Handsome Ning, don't run if you have the guts. Handsome Ning? Hearing this, the cultivators of Divine Nation City were stunned. Handsome? That guy running for his life was handsome? Could it be that the descendants of the royal family all had such strange tastes? At this moment, more and more armored soldiers joined the chase. Only then did these cultivators realize the seriousness of the matter. What exactly did this guy do that would incur the wrath of both men and gods? To be able to make hundreds of princes and princesses crazily chase after him, and the soldiers in the forbidden area of the imperial palace closely following him. This was probably the first time something like this had happened since the founding of the supreme divine nation. While countless cultivators of the divine land were confused, there was a rumor. Not only did handsome Ning beat the crap out of hundreds of princes and princesses in the supreme mystical ground, he even took all the fortunate encounters in the place. This was simply too arrogant. It was like robbing a tomb. After you stole all the treasures in the tomb, you still didn't feel satisfied and wanted to beat up the corpse of the owner of the tomb. Shameless. How shameless. It was also at this moment that a voice sounded from the forbidden area of the imperial palace. Whoever catches Ning Shuai will be conferred a title of nobility, be able to choose any earth-rank martial arts from the Divine Kingdom's martial scripture pavilion, and enjoy thousands of beauties. In an instant, the whole Divine Land City was in an uproar. More and more cultivators joined the hunt. Handsome Ning, don't run. Shouts kept coming from the Divine Prefecture City. C. The people of the Supreme Divine Nation must have gone crazy. When Ning Tian saw so many people joining the hunt, his expression changed slightly. Immediately after, he activated his evasive maneuvers and swimming dragon steps. It was as if the soles of his feet were smeared with oil. He gave the pursuers a textbook example of escaping. However, Ning Tian really wanted to curse. This divine prefecture city was 2F** king big. After running for a while, he still hadn't seen the city gate of the divine prefecture city. Zhu. Handsome Ning, keep running. Just as he passed by the Wind Rain Inn, he even saw Zhu Yunbua cheering him on from the balcony of the Wind Rain Inn. F***ck. This damn fatty. Ning Tian cursed in his heart. Handsome Ning, catch it. At this moment, Zhu Yunbua, who was on the balcony of the Wind Rain Inn, shouted and threw something over. Ning Tian was finally satisfied. This fatty still had some conscience. He knew that he would need a lot of stamina to run, so he threw some pills to replenish his stamina and spiritual power. But when he caught it, he was dumbfounded. It was actually an apple? Handsome Ning, eat an apple to replenish your stamina. Zhu Yunbua's chuckle came from the Wind Rain Inn in the distance. Ning Tian. He was speechless, but he still ate the apple in a few bites. F***ck. This handsome Ning is still in the mood to eat an apple. Seeing this, the princes, princesses, and other cultivators of the divine prefecture city were all furious. Being chased by them, this guy was still eating an apple. He didn't take them seriously? Damn it. Handsome Ning, you were so arrogant when you were beating me. Don't run now if you have the guts. A pig-headed prince shouted angrily from behind. Shut up. Ning Tian didn't even look at him. He casually threw the remaining apple core in his mouth, and the apple core hit the pig-headed prince's face. Ouch. Handsome Ning, throwing things is forbidden in the divine prefecture city. Then, an angry voice sounded. Come on, chase me. If you catch me, I'll let you have sex with me. Ning Tian's despicable voice floated from the front. This guy. I must kill him. F***ck. Heavens, how can there be such a despicable person in this world? The princes, princesses, armored soldiers, and cultivators of the divine prefecture city were all gnashing their teeth in anger. Half an hour later, Ning Tian was surrounded on all sides. Ning Tian stood in the center, surrounded by people in front of her and behind her. Phew. Handsome Ning, didn't we catch up to you? The princes and princesses panted and looked at this guy with difficulty. Damn it, this guy was really good at running. 2/3 of the people in the city were chasing him, but he ran for half an hour. Handsome Ning, I've caught up to you. Can you let me have sex with you now? The pig-headed prince looked at Ning Tian coldly. Get lost. Ning Tian's face darkened. Then, he looked at the 4 people around him cautiously. There were men on both sides. There was no way to escape. System, how long do I have left for the Heavenly Venerate trial card? Ning Tian thought to himself. Heavenly Venerate trial card. Last hour? 1 hour? Ning Tian mumbled to herself as she looked around. She wanted to see if she could make it out within the next hour. Go. Charge. Catch handsome Ning. He'll be conferred a title and thousands of beauties. In an instant, the eyes of the surrounding people lit up. They rushed toward Ning Tian like hungry wolves pouncing on their prey. Chapter 177. Oomph. Facing the crowd, Ning Tian snorted and unleashed his heavenly venerate aura. Instantly, his aura exploded. Boom. Countless charging cultivators were sent flying. F***, heavenly venerate. The surrounding people did not dare to attack. Since you don't dare to attack, I'll take the initiative to attack. Ning Tian's tone turned cold. Then, lightning flashed on his body. That was the divine thunder path. Activate palm path. Activate wind thunder divine palm. In an instant, the wind from the palm whistled and lightning flashed. Wind and thunder continued, and many people's expressions changed. F***, this handsome Ning plays with lightning. We can't afford to offend him. Facing Ning Tian's wind thunder divine palm, they could only choose to dodge. If they could not dodge, they would become charred black. If they could dodge, they would stay far away. How dare you? At this moment, a loud shout was heard. Then, a terrifying aura shrouded the area. Everyone looked up and saw a white-haired old man in a black robe descending from the sky. That's Imperial Censor Lu from the Divine Nation. Haha, he's a 3-star heavenly venerate. He should be able to stop handsome Ning, right? Seeing Imperial Censor Lu, many people around them widened their eyes. Imperial Censor Lu, you must catch this handsome Ning. You can't let him escape. The princes and princesses looked at Imperial Censor Lu excitedly. Princes and princesses, don't worry. Imperial Censor Lu waved his hand and looked at Ning Tian. I will definitely not let this brat escape. Hearing that, the princes and princesses grinned and looked at Ning Tian proudly. Handsome Ning, let's see how you escape this time. Brat, give up. You can't escape from Divine Nation City. Censor Lu's face was cold as he looked at Ning Tian. Is that so? Ning Tian sneered. I've even beaten up a great emperor before. You're just a mere heavenly venerate. What are you afraid of? Activating the mid-grade heaven-class martial art, Supreme Chaos Palm. Using martial art, Supreme Primordial Chaos Palm. As the system's voice rang out, the Taoist rhymes of Chapter Tao appeared in his hand. A supreme aura appeared in his palm. Ferocious spiritual energy surged around Ning Tian's body. Then, he struck out with his palm. Boom. Boundless spiritual energy transformed into primordial chaos chi, becoming even more ferocious and intense. Vaguely, a primordial chaos giant palm was formed. This aura, it's a supreme aura? Censor Lu's expression changed as a look of astonishment flashed across his eyes. He looked at Ning Tian in shock. This is the supreme primeval chaos palm. How is this possible? You only obtained this supreme primeval chaos palm 2 days ago. How is it possible to reach this level in just 2 days? Faced with Censor Lu's question, Ning Tian only smiled faintly. Sorry, it's impossible. Since it happened to me, it means it's possible. Hiss. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. You have shocked hundreds of princes and princesses. You have shocked the cultivators of Divine Prefecture City. You have shocked Censor Lu. Reward skill card, Berserk Fighting Intent card. Berserk Fighting Intent card. After use, your combat power will be doubled for an hour. After use, this card will become invalid. Boom. As soon as Ning Tian finished speaking, he struck out with his palm. The primordial chaos giant palm came crashing down. Divine Might Shield. Seeing this, Censor Lu hurriedly channeled his spiritual energy, wanting to block this attack. However, how powerful was a heavenly venerable's mid-grade heaven-class martial art? Moreover, this attack contained Ning Tian's Taoist rhyme. How could he block it? Boom. Bang. In just a moment, the Divine Might Shield on Censor Lu's body shattered. His entire body flew out in an instant. It directly smashed into the most famous brothel in Divine Prefecture City. Many prostitutes screamed as they ran out of the brothel. He defeated Censor Lu with one move? All the princes and princesses were dumbfounded. Handsome Ning's strength was a little too strong. Humph! How dare you? You brat! At this moment, a cold snort was heard. Then, the sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. 5 figures appeared in the sky. Those are the 5 elements of the kingdom of God. Rumor has it that they are all 5-star heavenly venerables. This time, we'll be able to capture Handsome Ning, right? Seeing this scene, although they were looking forward to it, they were not as confident as before. After all, Handsome Ning had sent Imperial Censor Liu flying with a single strike. You can actually send Censor Liu flying. Looks like you have some strength. 5 armored figures landed in front of Ning Tian. Among them, the leader sneered. However, when faced with the 5 elements, you will not be able to withstand a single blow. You're bullying me with numbers? Ning Tian's eyes flashed with a hint of seriousness. Then, he sneered. In that case, don't blame me for using a cheat code. System, use the violent fighting will card. Ning Tian shouted in his heart. Using berserk fighting will card. Use successful. Boom. In an instant, Ning Tian's body was surrounded by a red aura that could be seen with the naked eye. His fighting will soared instantly. The aura exploded and whistled. What's going on with this kid? The 5 elements were stunned and a trace of doubt flashed in their eyes. This guy's aura seemed to have soared just now. However, he was still a 3-star heavenly venerables. System, use all the martial arts. Using heavenly demon palm. Using flame tyrant fist. Using shadow sword technique. Using wind thunder divine palm. Using supreme chaos palm. Following the system's voice, it kept ringing in Ning Tian's mind. Then, the martial arts moves were endless. In an instant, lights and shadows flashed around Ning Tian's body. Spirit energy circulated and waves of golden light flashed. It was so dazzling that no one dared to look directly at it. Damn! What is that? What a dazzling light! The golden light was dazzling and voices kept coming from the surroundings. Everyone closed their eyes and their hearts were filled with doubts. 5 elements, right? Go to hell. Ning Tian roared. Then, 5 martial arts were released at the same time. In an instant, the golden light flashed and waves of spirit energy tore the space apart, constantly sweeping in all directions. Boom. What? Seeing this scene, the 5 elements' faces changed drastically. Was this the power that a 3-star heavenly venerables could release? They did not even have time to block it. Their bodies were sent flying. They were sent flying into the divine land city. Boom. In an instant, everyone within a radius of a few hundred meters was sent flying and the nearby houses collapsed. The group of people climbed up from the ground with difficulty. Looking at Handsome Ning, their hearts were filled with deep shock. He was too strong. Clap, 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 clap. At this moment, a round of applause sounded. In the void, Qin Feng took a step forward. The movement finally alarmed the Emperor God powerhouses. This young friend is quite strong. Qin Feng narrowed his eyes and looked at Ning Tian. He did not seem to be as angry as expected. Why don't you follow me back to the forbidden area of the palace and we can have a good talk? Ning Tian was silent. Follow you back? Wouldn't he lose his life then? He dared to circulate his spirit energy and take a gamble. Suddenly, his body felt weak. The system's voice rang in his mind. Ding. Heavenly Venerables trial card. Time expired. Invalid. Ning Tian was speechless. Why did it have to end at this moment? What the F***CK? Come on, young friend. Qin Feng stretched out his hand. Then, his spirit energy turned into an invisible giant hand and grabbed at Ning Tian. Boom. At this moment, a terrifying pressure came. In an instant, the invisible giant hand was shattered like a piece of paper. Qin Feng's face changed slightly. He looked around vigilantly. I wonder which Emperor God is attacking. Can you show yourself? Chapter 178. A Great Emperor? Many princes, princesses, cultivators, ministers, and generals in Divine Land City were stunned. In his heart, It was as if raging waves had been set off. What day is it today? Putting aside the fact that a celestial emperor had come, there was even a great emperor here? They all looked up at the sky, wanting to see which great emperor it was. However, how could their eyes see through the traces of great emperors? There were no clouds in the sky. Vaguely, one could feel the great emperor's aura in the air. Haha. At this moment, a melodious laugh rang out. Then, the great emperor's aura enveloped them. Boom. In an instant, everyone around Ning Tian was enveloped by the aura. Their bodies bent down uncontrollably, and their eyes were filled with shock. The owner of the laughter was definitely a great emperor. That woman? Just by hearing that familiar laughter, Ning Tian didn't need to think to know that it was the Queen Mother of the West. I didn't expect her to still be in Divine Land City. Although the Queen Mother of the West had said that she would stay in Divine Land City for a while, Ning Tian didn't expect her to still be here. In the sky, a beautiful figure appeared in the void. From afar, the figure was slim and graceful. She wore a purple dress and a thin veil that covered her face. It was the Queen Mother of the West, Jade Lake's sacred leader. Qin Feng recognized the Queen Mother of the West the moment he saw her. His expression changed slightly. The Jade Lake's sacred leader was a true great emperor. Even when compared to their supreme divine kingdoms, 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 divine kingdom. The Jade Lake sacred leader. That beautiful woman was the Jade Lake sacred leader. Many people in the Divine Prefecture city trembled when they heard Qin Feng's solemn words from the sky. The woman in the sky was a true great emperor. If a great emperor was angry, the entire divine land would tremble. They were all guessing why the Jade Lake sacred leader had suddenly appeared. Could it be because of Marshal Ning? The thought flashed through their minds, but it was quickly dismissed. How could the ugly Marshal Ning attract the Queen Mother of the West's attention? Greetings, Jade Lake sacred leader. Qin Feng bowed to the Queen Mother of the West. Then, he looked at her and said slowly, "May I know why the Jade Lake sacred leader stopped me? Are you questioning me?" The Queen Mother of the West looked at him with a smile. Although her tone was soft, there was a hidden dagger in her words. "No, I, Qin Feng, am merely a two-star quasi-emperor. How would I dare to question a martial emperor?" Qin Feng hurriedly shook his head as cold sweat trickled down his forehead. "I'm just curious." Curious? Sometimes curiosity kills the cat. The Queen Mother smiled and glanced at Ning Tian. She then said to Qin Feng, "I'm helping your divine kingdom. Help my supreme divine nation?" Hearing this, Qin Feng couldn't help but be stunned. The people of Divine Land City below were also stunned. No matter how one looked at it, the Jade Lake sacred leader had blocked Qin Feng's attack for Handsome Ning. She was clearly helping Handsome Ning. How could she say that she was helping the divine nation? You don't understand. The Queen Mother of the West smiled. If you hurt him, and that person gets angry, even the Divine Nation Master might not be able to protect you. Qin Feng was stunned when he heard this. A look of astonishment flashed across his eyes. Even the Divine Nation Master couldn't protect him? How could this be? He naturally didn't believe it. After all, the Divine Nation Master was also a martial emperor. Therefore, he felt that the Jade Lake sacred leader was trying to scare him. Haha, Jade Lake sacred leader must be joking. However, although Qin Feng had a rough idea of what was going on, he didn't dare to say it out loud. Joking? Do I need to joke with a mere two-star quasi-emperor like you? The Queen Mother of the West laughed mockingly. Qin Feng was stunned when he heard this. He gritted his teeth, but didn't dare to refute. Although they were both god emperors, the difference between a quasi-emperor and a martial emperor was like heaven and earth. Boom. At that moment, the aura of a martial emperor swept out from the forbidden area of the Divine Land City's palace. Then, a voice sounded from the depths of the palace. Jade Lake sacred leader, why are you bullying your juniors? This voice belongs to the Divine Nation Master. Our emperor is here. The cultivators in the Divine Land City heaved a sigh of relief when they heard this voice. Since the Divine Nation Master was here, the Jade Lake's sacred leader should restrain herself a little, right? Oh, Divine Nation Master, you're here too? The Queen Mother of the West didn't seem surprised at all. She looked at the space in front of her with interest. The space shattered, and a middle-aged man stepped out. He wore a dragon robe and had sharp eyebrows and bright eyes. He looked like an emperor, and he was the father of these hundreds of princes and princesses. He was the absolute ruler of the Divine Nation, the Divine Nation Master. Brother, Qin Feng felt more confident when he saw the Divine Nation Master. He hurriedly rushed over to report the situation to the Divine Nation Master. There's no need to say anything. Before he could say anything, the Divine Nation Master interrupted him. Howren has already told me the general situation. Then he looked at the Queen Mother of the West and said in a low voice, Jade Lake's sacred leader, this matter shouldn't have anything to do with the Jade Lake, right? Also, I've never heard of the Jade Lake sacred ground having a male disciple. Ha. The Queen Mother of the West covered her mouth and smiled. Although he's not a disciple of the Jade Lake, I'll protect him today. What? Everyone in the Divine Land City was stunned when they heard this. They all looked at Ning Tian in confusion. Who was this guy? How could he be protected by a great emperor? Senior sister, this guy doesn't seem ordinary. Yu Qin's eyes flashed cunningly. Things were getting more and more interesting. Seeing the two great emperors, this girl's reaction was different from the others. She wasn't surprised at all. Instead, she seemed to be used to it. Cultivator Ning Shuai. Princess Moon's spirit was also stunned. Her eyes were filled with confusion. Jade Lake Sacred Leader, are you declaring war on the Divine Nation? The Divine Nation Master's expression was ugly. Declaring war? The Queen Mother of the West chuckled. Do you think that your current Divine Kingdom can withstand two great emperors? Moreover, your Divine Nation is still at war with the barbarians outside the Divine Land, right? Do you have the energy to start a war now? Hearing this, the Divine Nation Master fell silent. However, he was most concerned about the two great emperors that the Queen Mother of the West mentioned. Jade Lake's Sacred Leader, don't scare me. The Jade Lake's sacred ground only has one great emperor. The Divine Nation Master narrowed his eyes and looked at the Queen Mother of the West. Indeed, the Jade Lake only has one great emperor. But, speaking of this, the Queen Mother of the West looked at Ning Tian. Behind him is a great empress. Moreover, it's a great empress who is extremely protective. Him? Everyone was stunned. The Divine Nation Master also had a confused expression. Haha, Ancestral Master, you can take off that thing now. The Queen Mother of the West laughed. Sigh. Ning Tian sighed faintly. He wanted to bid farewell to the Divine Land with absolute ugliness, but it seemed like the Queen Mother of the West wouldn't let him. He shook his head and slowly took off the ice silkworm mask. In an instant, the incomparably ugly face disappeared. Instead, it was replaced by a handsome and dignified face. No matter how handsome a man was, he couldn't compare to him. Gasp! Seeing this scene, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. This was simply a case of a stranger being as beautiful as Jade, a peerless young master. Chapter 179. The moment Ning Tian took off the ice silkworm mask, the atmosphere froze. Everyone froze in place. The moment they looked at Ning Tian, they were completely dumbfounded. How could this be considered extremely ugly? This was simply a peerless, perfect, and handsome face. Those princes and saints all had to stand aside and watch. That face had sharp edges and a trace of cold handsomeness. Those dark and deep eyes seemed to be able to tug at anyone's heartstrings. So handsome. Although Sir Zhuge is handsome, he's still not as handsome as him. Handsome Ning. It's really handsome Ning. When the crowd said the words, handsome Ning again, they didn't find it strange at all. In fact, they even felt that those words weren't enough to describe his handsomeness. F***CK. I get it. I know who he is. At this moment, the Imperial Astronomer looked at Ning Tian in shock. His body seemed to be trembling. You get it again? Everyone was stunned and looked at the Imperial Astronomer speechlessly. This guy always said he got it, but things always turned out the opposite way. He, he, he's the legendary patriarch of the Tiamat cult. The imperial astronomer was so excited that he stuttered. The Tiamat cult? The legendary patriarch? Everyone in Divine Land City turned pale with fright when they heard this. Who in the celestial spirit realm didn't know the name of the legendary patriarch of the Tiamat cult? I didn't expect that. He's the legendary patriarch of the Tiamat cult. Handsome Ning is the legendary patriarch, Ning Tian. The cultivators in Divine Land City were dumbfounded. F***CK. It's over. What did they just do? They actually hunted down the legendary patriarch of the Tiamat cult. Apart from this identity, he had another identity that all the men in the celestial spirit realm envied. He was the husband of the Empress. Behind him was the entire Tiamat cult. In the sky, Qin Feng gulped. He felt like he had just survived a disaster. F***CK. Fortunately, he did not attack Patriarch. Otherwise, at this moment, he was extremely grateful to the Queen Mother of the West. If she had not stopped him, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Some time ago, in the Chill Wind Mountain Range, Jianrun of the Sword Sect was also a quasi-emperor. After injuring Ning Tian, the consequences were well known. Now that they were busy fighting the barbarians, how could they have the time to fight the Tiamat cult? Moreover, the Queen Mother of the West was eyeing them covetously. Somewhere in Divine Land City, when Yuqin saw Ning Tian take off the ice silkworm mask, her eyes immediately widened. Senior sister. HHY, is he so handsome? Yuqin's face was flushed red, and her voice trembled as her heart raced. Ning Tian is Ning Tian. Ning Tian is the legendary founder of the Tiamat cult. It's that extremely handsome and talented legendary ancestor who managed to escape from the hands of a god emperor. I'm dead. Yuqin continued to shout, her face flushed red with excitement. Senior sister, did you see that? He's Ning Tian. So handsome, so handsome. Even in the firmament territory, he's definitely the most handsome male cultivator. At this moment, Yuqin only felt that her head was a little numb. She did not know what to say and was flustered. After all, the scene of Ning Tian taking off the mask was too shocking. Senior sister, did you see that? Yuqin's little head was dizzy as she kept asking. Beside her, Princess Moon's spirit was also stunned. When she saw Ning Tian's appearance after taking off the ice silkworm mask, she instantly covered her mouth in shock. Ning Tian is Ning Tian? He's the legendary founder of the Tiamat cult. Thinking of how she had said in front of Ning Tian that the legendary founder of the Tiamat cult was her husband, Princess Moon's spirit was so embarrassed that she wanted to dig a hole and crawl into it. It turned out that Ning Tian had not lied to her at all. Everything he said was true, except for the name. This guy. At this moment, Princess Moon's spirit looked at Ning Tian with a hint of bitterness in her eyes. So it's the legendary founder who beat us up. For some reason, the resentment in the prince's hearts suddenly dissipated. It felt very reasonable. If they had lost to Ning Tian, they would have felt ashamed. However, if they lost to the legendary founder of the Tiamat cult, it was understandable that they were not as good as him. As for the princesses, their beautiful eyes shone with passion. Their pretty faces flushed as they looked at Ning Tian. Handsome. So handsome. Ning Tian touched his nose. Seeing these people so excited, he could not help but feel a little speechless. Wasn't he just a little more handsome? Did they have to be so excited? Sit down, sit down. Wasn't this basic handsomeness? Dare I ask, isn't everyone here handsome like this? Cough cough. You have shocked the princes and princesses. You have shocked the cultivators of Divine Prefecture. You have shocked Princess Moon's spirit. You have shocked Yuqin. Reward talent, teaching and dispelling doubts. Teaching and dispelling doubts. Your teaching ability has been improved. The next Imperial Preceptor is you. At this time, in the sky, the Lord of the Divine Nation frowned slightly. He did not expect that the one who caused such a big commotion was the legendary founder of the Tiamat cult. Although he looked down on the legendary founder, his wife was the Empress. If it was a one-on-one fight, he would not dare to fight Luo Wuqing head-on. After all, the Empress of the demonic path was extremely strong and had many attacking methods. Forget it, forget it. The Lord of the divine nation sighed. He knew that he could not continue to pursue this matter. He looked at Ning Tian and said, since it's the founder, then all the opportunities in the supreme secret realm can be regarded as a meeting gift for the founder. But you have to return the supreme primeval chaos palm left behind by our ancestor. Hearing this, Ning Tian was stunned for a moment. The Queen Mother of the West landed beside him and whispered to him, Founder, since you have learned this thing, return it to them. The benefits are enough. If you take it away, this guy might really go crazy. Hearing the Queen Mother of the West's words, Ning Tian pondered for a moment and finally nodded. The supreme primeval chaos palm was extremely important to the divine nation. If he did not return it, the Lord of the divine nation might really shed all pretense of cordiality. Since he had learned it, there was no use for him to keep this copy. Immediately, a golden light appeared in his hand, and an ancient sheepskin scroll fell into his palm. He gave it a gentle push. It flew towards the Lord of the divine nation. Seeing this, the Lord of the divine nation was delighted. He took the ancient sheepskin scroll and looked at it with his consciousness. He immediately frowned. This ancient scroll was only the wordless heavenly book. At this time, Ning Tian's faint laughter was heard. Lord, is this the wordless heavenly book? Yes. The Lord of the divine nation frowned slightly and looked at Ning Tian suspiciously. Is this your doing? Do you think I have the ability to play tricks on the things left behind by the great emperors? Ning Tian just smiled. How about we make a bet? A bet? The Lord of the divine nation was stunned, and a trace of doubt flashed in his eyes. What kind of bet? Ning Tian smiled. If your divine nation's disciples can figure out the slightest bit of the cultivation method in 3 days, I will return all the things I have obtained in the supreme secret realm. However, if your divine nation's disciples can't figure it out in 3 days, then it will be my turn to teach one of them. What do you think? After saying that, Ning Tian looked at the Lord of the divine nation indifferently. He did not have the slightest bit of nervousness or fear that should be in front of a great emperor expert. Instead, he was talking cheerfully. You will teach? The Lord of the divine nation was surprised. Of course, my teaching is not free. Naturally, I will charge tuition. Tuition? What do you want? 10 billion spirit coins and 3,000 raw crystals. Ning Tian said slowly. 10 billion spirit coins? 3,000 raw crystals? In the divine nation city, a group of people widened their eyes. No, 10 billion is absolutely out of the question. The Lord of the divine nation shook his head. We are now fighting against the barbarians. The national treasury cannot be used at will. Hearing this, Ning Tian pondered for a moment and said slowly, then, 5 billion spirit coins and 5,000 raw crystals. The Lord of the divine nation was silent for a moment. After a long time, he looked at Ning Tian. You are very courageous. You are worthy of being the legendary patriarch of the Tianma cult who has recently risen to fame. I accept this bet. Chapter 180. The Lord of the Divine Nation's voice rang out. Ning Tian's lips curled into a confident smile. Everything was under his control. This supreme primordial chaos palm was a wordless heavenly book. There were no words that could lead one to the entry level. If one wanted to comprehend it, one had to rely on one word, comprehension. To comprehend it with just the word comprehension was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. It was impossible for these divine nations' disciples to comprehend it in just 3 days. Then, let's wait and see in 3 days. I hope the king won't go back on his word. Ning Tian said with a smile, making people feel that there was a trick in his smile. The Lord of the divine nation was stunned for a moment, and a hint of doubt flashed in his eyes. Although he also felt that this Tianma cult's patriarch seemed to have set up a trap in front of him, at this moment, he had to jump in even if he didn't want to. Firstly, he had already agreed. Secondly, he didn't believe in heresy. In their vast divine nation, there wasn't even a disciple who could study a heaven-tier martial art within 3 days. Don't worry. The lord of the divine nation raised his head proudly. Naturally, the emperor will not go back on his word. All right, then it's a deal. Ning Tian revealed a meaningful smile. In that case, Queen Mother of the West, let's go. The Queen Mother of the West nodded slightly, turned around, and left with Ning Tian. The agreement was reached. This farce could be considered to have come to an end just like that. The Lord of the Divine Nation looked at the collapsed houses and damaged roads within a radius of hundreds of meters. He couldn't help but shake his head helplessly. This Tiamat cult's patriarch was too good at demolishing things. He really didn't know how those old fellows of the Tianma cult could withstand it. Immediately, he summoned the Minister of Works and asked him to clean up the mess. Sigh. Looking at the mess, the Minister of Works sighed heavily. If the Grand Elder of the Tianma cult was here, he would definitely look at the Minister of Works as if he was looking at a confidant. They were both people who had fallen into the same predicament and had been harmed by the Patriarch. After greeting the Minister of Works, the sovereign of the divine kingdom led the princes and princesses back to the palace in a hurry and began to prepare to comprehend the supreme primordial chaos palm. The agreement between the two fell into the ears of the cultivators in Divine Land City. After hearing it, they were all secretly shocked. Who would have thought that the patriarch of the Tianma cult would dare to make a bet with a great emperor? This was probably the first case in history. The most important thing was that the conditions were 5 billion spirit coins and 5,000 raw crystal stones. Putting aside the 5 billion spirit coins, just the 5,000 raw crystal stones were already very expensive. In fact, they were even more precious than the 5 billion spirit coins. Sometimes, raw crystal stones were not something that could be bought even with money. TSK. The legendary patriarch of the Tianma cult is really demanding an exorbitant price. I wonder who will emerge victorious in 3 days. Inside the Divine Land City, all the cultivators shook their heads inwardly, their hearts filled with anticipation. Rainstorm Tavern. Shi Wangmu followed Ning Tian back to the room. Where's Miss Yaoshi? Ning Tian looked at Shi Wangmu and could not help but ask, What? You haven't seen my saintess for a few days, and you're already missing her? You don't even miss me? Shi Wangmu immediately turned into a resentful woman, looking at Ning Tian with hidden bitterness. This made Ning Tian dumbfounded. Why does it feel like I've done something bad to the Queen Mother? However, he was innocent. All right, you'd better be serious, Ning Tian said angrily. You don't know how to be tactful. Shi Wangmu rolled her eyes at Ning Tian flirtatiously and gritted her teeth. She did not believe that with this guy's willpower, he could hold on for long. I'll send Yaoshi back to the Jade Lake sacred ground first. Then why are you still here? Nonsense. I know that with your personality, you will definitely cause a lot of trouble. Anyway, I have nothing to do with the Jade Lake. Why don't you stay and join in the fun? Shi Wangmu rolled her eyes at Ning Tian. Cough, cough. Hearing this, Ning Tian coughed dryly. This woman, what nonsense is she talking about? I'm just helping the divine nation to clean up the unwanted trash, Ning Tian said shamelessly. Bah, shameless. Shi Wangmu rolled her eyes in annoyance, and the corner of her mouth lifted slightly. This ancestor is still as shameless as before. So, are you going to rob the supreme divine kingdom again? TSK, 5 billion spirit coins. Only you can say that. Come on, as a great emperor, you think 5 billion is too much? The Queen Mother of the West's words left Ning Tian speechless. He didn't know about the others, but Luo Wuqing and the Queen Mother of the West were definitely rich. 5 billion spirit coins is indeed not a lot for me. However, the 5,000 spiritual origin stones are different. At this point, the Queen Mother of the West glanced at Ning Tian. So, what do you want those 5,000 spiritual origin stones for? In Shi Wangmu's eyes, the 5,000 spiritual origin stones were much more valuable than 5 billion spirit coins. Spiritual origin stones were not like spirit coins, which were only used for transactions. They contained a huge amount of spiritual origin stones, and they were very rare. Hearing this, Ning Tian put away the playful look in his eyes and looked at Shi Wangmu seriously. I want to use these spirit coins and spiritual origin stones to build a small teleportation pillar. A small teleportation pillar? Shi Wangmu was stunned. I think that the heavenly demon cult could join forces with the Jade Lake Sacred Ground, and then build a small teleportation pillar between the heavenly demon cult and the Jade Lake Sacred Ground, Ning Tian said slowly, expressing her idea. Currently, the Jade Lake Sacred Ground and Tianma cult had a good relationship because of him. He could build a small teleportation pillar, and it would not cost too much. The small teleportation pillar in the Divine Nation Square could teleport about the distance of a province. As for the large one, it could teleport through regions. However, the large teleportation pillar consumed a lot of energy. Even if the Tianling region had one, it would only be collecting dust. The Tianling region was the smallest among the major regions, so there was no need to use the large teleportation pillar. Alliance? Teleportation pillar? Shi Wangmu was stunned when she heard Ning Tian's words. She pondered for a moment. The Jade Lake Sacred Ground was originally hidden in the world and should not interfere with the secular world. However, now that Ning Tian had a request, she did not want to refuse. Instead, she was a little tempted. The Tianma cult was also very powerful. It seemed to be more advantageous for them to join forces. However, this teleportation pillar, since ancient times, many forces had cooperated and formed alliances. However, there were very few who would reward each other with a teleportation pillar. This was because the premise of cooperation was benefits first. There were no absolute friends, only absolute benefits. Once there was a betrayal, the teleportation pillar would become a fatal thing. It was like inviting a wolf into one's house. Therefore, unless there was absolute trust, no one would choose to build a teleportation pillar. What do you think? If you don't want it, I won't force you. Ning Tian looked at Shi Wangmu. He only mentioned it a little. If Shi Wangmu was unwilling, he would not say anything. Chapter 181. However, the Empress of the West's words surprised him. Well, I don't have any opinions about this. However, this is an important matter for the sect after all. We still need to consider the collective. I'll go back and ask. Okay. Ning Tian's eyes flashed. He was doing this for the sake of the Tianma cult. Although it didn't have any effect now, it was always good to be on guard. When the time comes, if the fairy lake has made a decision, just inform the Tianma cult's elders, Ning Tian said. Okay. The Empress of the West nodded. Then, she walked slowly toward Ning Tian. What is this woman doing? Ning Tian was shocked. Could it be that the Empress of the West had some bad thoughts and wanted to do something bad to him? Should he resist when the time comes? No. In the face of a great emperor, it seemed useless to resist. Then, she circled around Ning Tian twice. Her natural fragrance was slightly pungent. Then, she lay on Ning Tian's bed and winked at Ning Tian. She was like a seductive demon fox, full of temptation. Hee, ancestral master, do you want to play something different? Her voice was filled with absolute charm. Ning Tian immediately felt his blood rushing to his head. This woman was too charming. She was completely different from Luo Wuqing's beauty. However, with her charm, it was enough to stimulate the most primitive impulse in one's heart. Then, Ning Tian gritted his teeth and rushed toward the Empress of the West with a dark face. Huh. A look of astonishment flashed in the Empress of the West's eyes. Seeing Ning Tian rushing toward her, she was happy but also a little flustered. After all, she had no experience. She gritted her teeth, and a blush appeared on her pretty face. You! Before the Empress of the West could finish her sentence, she felt Ning Tian carrying her from the bed. Huh, this guy? But just as she was puzzled, Ning Tian gave her a hard slap on her butt. Pa. Before Shi Wangmu could recover from her shock, Ning Tian pulled her out of the room. Woman, get out. Get out. I want to cultivate. Bang. Then, Ning Tian closed the door. The Queen Mother of the West froze in place, a dazed look in her beautiful eyes. This guy. After a while, the corners of her mouth couldn't help but curl up slightly. She lightly licked her red lips as a bright light flashed in her beautiful eyes. Ancestral Master, you really give me the feeling of wanting to subdue you. Haha. Laughter rang out, but she had already melted into the void and disappeared. In the room, Ning Tian's face flushed red. He almost couldn't control himself. This woman's fox demon absolute charm physique is really a little scary. Forget it, forget it. I'll just cultivate first. He mumbled and shook his head as he sat down cross-legged. He was not in a hurry at all. He only needed to wait for 3 days. Very quickly, 2 days passed. However, 2 strange guests entered the Rainstorm Tavern. The only person who could describe the divine thunder Tao so casually was probably the ancestral master in front of them. So, ancestral master, you still stepped onto the 9th step of the Wind Thunder 9 steps, right? Princess Moon's spirit thought of something at this moment. Her eyes flashed as she looked at Ning Tian. Ning Tian just smiled and did not say anything. Seeing this, Princess Moon's spirit was even more certain that Ning Tian had definitely stepped onto the 9th step. She smiled and let it go. Ning Tian did not say anything. Then, he lowered his head and looked at the wooden box. An oval purple fruit was lying in it. It emitted a medicinal fragrance. There were some small lumps on the fruit, and the lumps contained thunder and lightning. This is the Thunder Core fruit. He was faintly excited. After the trip to the Divine Kingdom, he had finally gathered all the herbs needed to improve the celestial physique. Next, he only needed to return to the Tianma cult and refine the pill. After the 3 of them chatted for a while, Princess Moon's spirit and Yuqin prepared to leave. Ancestral Master, we're leaving. Until they left, Ning Tian did not ask about the progress of the royal family. Princess Moon's spirit also did not ask about how to cultivate the supreme chaos palm. Let nature take its course. Chapter 182. The bet lasted for 3 days, and the time had come. Everyone in Divine Prefecture was looking forward to the winner. Early morning, a ray of sunlight shone in from the window. On the bed, Ning Tian vaguely felt an intoxicating fragrance beside him. He subconsciously turned around and touched a trace of softness. In a daze. He sleepily opened his eyes and saw Shi Wangmu lying beside him. She was holding her head with her small hands and looking at him with a smile. Damn! Ning Tian immediately jumped up from the bed. Spiritual energy instantly flowed through her entire body. She was no longer sleepy and was very energetic. I. Ning Tian was stunned. Why was this woman here? Strange. He remembered that he had cultivated until late at night and felt a little tired, so he simply went asleep. Logically speaking, this woman shouldn't be here. No, this woman was still wearing clothes. Phew. Ning Tian breathed a sigh of relief and gritted his teeth. This woman, just because she was a great emperor, she could do whatever she wanted. Please, can you not barge into my room? I also need privacy, Lin Sanju said. Ning Tian looked at Shi Wangmu speechlessly, trying to reason with this woman. Yes. Shi Wangmu listened seriously, but her eyes were always on Ning Tian. So, Ancestral Master, you like to sleep naked? Ning Tian was stunned and looked down. Then, a scream could be heard throughout the entire Rainstorm Tavern. Damn! In an instant, the entire Rainstorm Tavern's guests were stunned. They were about to get angry, but after hearing that familiar voice, they suddenly reacted. That was the voice of the legendary Ancestral Master? These guests were puzzled. Why did the legendary Ancestral Master scream in the morning? Was it the cultivation of the technique, or the sublimation of martial arts behind it? Could this be a new cultivation method, using sound to cultivate? By using the technique, one could hold spiritual energy in one's throat, and through the vibration of sound waves, one could achieve the effect of moving the spiritual energy around the body, thus improving one's overall strength? F***CK. At this moment, their eyes widened, and they couldn't help but give Ning Tian a thumbs up. Hi. How high was this? As expected of the legendary patriarch of the Tianma cult, he was even able to think of such a cultivation method. How awesome! If they learned this awesome cultivation method, they would definitely be able to break through to the Saint Emperor realm. Then, in the Rainstorm Tavern, one after another, the sound of people shouting could be heard, sometimes high and sometimes low, on the way to the forbidden area of the imperial palace. Seeing Ning Tian's despondent expression, Shi Wangmu, who was at the side, could not help saying, "Why are you so depressed? It's not like you haven't seen it before. I've already seen it twice." Huh? You've seen it twice? Ning Tian froze for a moment. That's not right. He had only exposed his clothes once at the immortal spirit pool of the Jade Lake, and it was the system who had tricked him. The Queen Mother of the West was indeed present last time, but when had she ever seen it twice? F***CK. Suddenly, Ning Tian felt a chill on his back. Have you been peeping on me in this way often these days? You're thinking too much. Shi Wangmu rolled her eyes at him. I don't have a hobby of peeping. It's just that last time at the Jade Lake, when Luo Wuqing forced himself on you, I secretly peeked outside the door. Huh? You still say you don't have a hobby of peeping? Wait, my wife forced herself on me. Ning Tian was stunned, and a string of question marks appeared in his head. What the hell? When did this happen? Why didn't he remember? No, he had to take revenge. After thinking for a while, Ning Tian led Shi Wangmu to the deity's nation's plaza. In the kingdom square, the kingdom lord looked at the hundreds of princes and princesses with a grim expression. None of these hundreds of people could comprehend it. Then what was the use of having so many children? He, Qi Ningxing, actually gave birth to a bunch of useless sons and daughters. How infuriating! The group of princes and princesses silently endured the kingdom lord's anger. They were also puzzled. There was not a single word on the supreme chaos palm. How did the legendary ancestral master learn it? The first prince, Qin Haoran, also gritted his teeth. He could sense a faint aura, but he could not comprehend it. My king, I wonder if any of your disciples had an epiphany? At this moment, a hearty laugh came from below the stairs. Then, Ning Tian and Shi Wangmu appeared in front of everyone. In the kingdom square, the ministers and generals were looking forward to it. Although the princes and princesses had entered early, they did not reveal who had comprehended it. Seeing Ning Tian's smiling face, the kingdom lord felt his heart ache. Ancestral master, you won. In my kingdom of God, no one had an epiphany in 3 days. The kingdom lord sighed and said slowly, What? There are many princes and princesses in my kingdom of God, but no one has learned it. Hearing this, the ministers and generals were a little shocked. In the square, the princes and princesses were too ashamed to show their faces. Their faces flushed red. In that case, thank you for the 5 billion spirit coins and the 5,000 origin crystals. Ning Tian winked at the God Nation's ruler and gave him a look that said, You understand? Seeing this, the kingdom lord's heart ached even more. He took a storage ring from his hand and threw it to Ning Tian. This is a public storage ring. It does not have my aura. You can use it as you wish. Everything you want is in it. Ning Tian took the bag and looked through it. When she saw the spirit coins and carriages full of raw crystals, a satisfied smile appeared on her face. My king, you keep your promise. Now, it's time for me to do what I promised. Ning Tian smiled and looked at the group of princes and princesses. Then, next, let me choose who I should choose to teach. In the bet, he only promised to teach one of them. This supreme primordial chaos palm was extremely powerful. He did not want to teach it to everyone. How could he improve the overall strength of others? He was not that stupid. Even if he taught one person and that person comprehended it, it did not mean that he could teach it to others. When he proposed the bet, he had thought about everything. Hearing Ning Tian's words, the princes and princesses were extremely excited. With this supreme primordial chaos palm, at the very least, his status would definitely rise greatly. Ancestor, choose me, choose me, choose me, choose me. The princes and princesses raised their hands one after another. However, Ning Tian pretended not to hear the voices of the princes and princesses. He put on an act and walked in front of the 42nd prince. Looks like a promising talent. His voice sounded, and the prince was immediately excited. However, it's a pity that it's a man. The 42nd prince, So, my gender is delaying your teaching, isn't it? You're not teaching the sunflower manual. However, Ning Tian ignored him and walked in front of another prince and princess. He first nodded at them, then shook his head at them. This was simply giving them hope, but also giving them despair. This made the princes and princesses grit their teeth. Their ancestor had become more handsome. However, one thing had not changed, and that was his despicable nature. Then, Ning Tian walked past several princes and princesses. He even pinched the baby face of the 32nd prince with interest. Finally, he stopped in front of the Moon Spirit Princess. All right, I'll choose the Moon Spirit Princess. The princes and princesses were speechless. They naturally knew that Ning Tian and the Moon Spirit Princess were close. Damn it. If you wanted to choose the Moon Spirit Princess, you should have chosen her. Did you have fun teasing us? The princes and princesses could not help but complain. Hearing that, Ning Tian said with a serious face, very happy. The princes and princesses puffed. Chapter 183. The princes and princesses gritted their teeth in anger. This Timma cult's patriarch was really asking for a beating. However, when they saw the Queen Mother of the West standing beside him, the princes and princesses could only swallow their anger. The patriarch of the Kingdom of God did not react. The process was not important. All he wanted was the result. As long as the disciples of the Kingdom of God could learn the supreme chaos palm, it would be fine. Moreover, the Moon Spirit Princess could be considered as one of the top 3 princes and princesses. She was a good seedling. Qin Haoran gritted his teeth and clenched his fists as he watched Ning Tian slowly walk toward the Moon Spirit Princess. His eyes were full of anger. What should have belonged to him had now become someone else's possession. Moreover, it was his #1 competitor. Moon Spirit Princess, are you ready? Ning Tian walked to the Moon Spirit Princess and looked at her calmly. Yes. The Moon Spirit Princess blushed slightly and lowered her head. She did not dare to look at Ning Tian directly. Few women in the world could look at his handsome face without blushing. Look at me, Ning Tian said calmly. The Moon Spirit Princess was stunned. She raised her head slightly and looked at Ning Tian. Her beautiful eyes were full of panic. Don't think too much. Calm down. Ning Tian's calm voice sounded in the Moon Spirit Princess's ears. It was so gentle that it made her slightly distracted. She stared at Ning Tian subconsciously. Those beautiful eyes were as calm as water without any ripples. It was as if there was magic. The blush on her face quietly faded. Phew! The Moon Spirit Princess exhaled slightly and gradually calmed down. Patriarch, I'm ready. Yes. Ning Tian nodded and then said in his heart, System, activate the talent. Teach and dispel doubts. Activating talent. Teach and dispel doubts. Activation successful. As soon as the voice fell, a faint yellow light that only Ning Tian could see condensed at his fingertips. That was his understanding of the supreme primeval chaos palm. He raised his hand slightly and placed his finger on the Moon Spirit Princess's forehead. Then, the faint yellow light of understanding slowly entered the Moon Spirit Princess's mind. 1 minute later, Ning Tian slowly moved his hand away from the Moon Spirit Princess' forehead. At this moment, her eyes were tightly shut. All right. Ning Tian smiled at the King of Scandinavia and said, Princess Moon Spirit will be able to comprehend the supreme primordial palm soon. We'll leave now. After saying that, Ning Tian turned around, preparing to leave with Shi Wangmu. Wait. The King of the Kingdom of God frowned and said, If Moon Spirit doesn't succeed, won't you be able to escape? Run? Ning Tian smiled. Her tone was full of confidence. Since I've taught her, she'll definitely understand. His voice faded. Ning Tian and the Queen Mother of the West walked out of the Divine Kingdom's plaza. Brother, are we going to let them go just like that? What if Moon Spirit doesn't comprehend it? Qin Feng frowned and asked the Divine Kingdom's Lord as he watched the two leave. It's fine. The King of the Kingdom of God shook his head. The Emperor has seen through the Tianma cult's legendary ancestor. He is an extremely smart person. Now that the Righteous Alliance and the Tianma cult have a bad relationship, He won't make enemies for the Tianma cult for no reason. So what he said should be true. But it's only been a minute. Qin Feng frowned. He didn't believe that Ning Tian could teach someone the supreme primeval chaos palm in just a minute. Just watch. The king of the kingdom of God just said lightly. In the plaza, all the princes and princesses, ministers and generals looked at the moon spirit princess in the middle. The moon spirit princess closed her eyes tightly. Cold sweat appeared on her forehead. 5 minutes later, there was no movement at all. Seeing this, the crowd couldn't help but be surprised. Could it be that the Tianma cult's legendary ancestor was lying to them? I knew it. That ancestor was just showing off. It's useless. Qin Feng sneered. Don't worry. The king of the kingdom of God still looked calm and collected. Boom. At this moment, there was a huge commotion in the center of the plaza. The moon spirit princess's body was surrounded by a pure white spiritual energy. It was a supreme aura. Transcendent was a heaven-class cultivation method from the transcendent divine kingdom. By cultivating this technique, one could condense spiritual energy into a type of transcendent energy, thus strengthening one's body. At this moment, the supreme chi on the moon spirit princess's body was extremely powerful. So many supreme chi. Such a huge amount of supreme chi. Could it be that the ancestor really taught the moon spirit princess in a minute? Hiss. On the kingdom of God's grand square, many people widened their eyes in shock. Huff. After a while, the moon spirit princess gently exhaled and slowly opened her beautiful eyes. Moon spirit, how is it? The king of the kingdom of God's voice sounded. Around her, everyone's nervous eyes instantly turned to look at her. Father, I have already mastered the highest form of the supreme primordial chaos palm. Yu Ling could not hide the excitement in her heart as she smiled and said, The highest form? Hearing this, the king of the kingdom of God was stunned. Hearing this, the surrounding people also gasped. Damn! How many minutes has it been? From the beginning to the highest level? Could it be that our kingdom of God has also produced a peerless genius? The surrounding people were discussing. Qin Haoran's face was extremely ugly. The stronger the moon spirit princess was, the more serious the threat to his position was. Moon spirit, is this true? The king of the kingdom of God frowned and asked, Father, please take a look. The moon spirit princess didn't say anything more. It was useless to say more. She might as well use it and see if it was true or false. After that, she took a step forward, and then waves of supreme energy condensed on her palm. She smashed her palm forward, and the entire square shook in an instant. This is indeed the highest form of the supreme chaos palm. The king of the kingdom of God's eyes lit up. Although the moon spirit princess was only a saint emperor and couldn't unleash the power of a heaven-class martial art, from the signs of the move, there was no doubt that it was the highest form. Ha ha ha. I didn't expect that after so many years, our kingdom of God has finally produced a peerless genius. The king of the kingdom of God laughed loudly. His laughter was filled with excitement. The reason why he had hundreds of children was to produce a peerless genius. Now, he finally had one. How could he not be excited? Congratulations, king. Congratulations. Congratulations. The surrounding ministers were all smiling and congratulating him. Qin Haoran's face turned even uglier. However, just as everyone was immersed in joy, the voice of the moon spirit princess rang out at this moment. No, this has nothing to do with me. Chapter 184. Hearing Moon Spirit Princess's words, not only was the divine nation lord stunned, but everyone was stunned as well. It had nothing to do with Moon Spirit Princess. This is all thanks to the ancestral master. Hearing the Moon Spirit Princess's casual words, everyone was confused. What did it have to do with the ancestral master? Wasn't it said that the master led the way, but the cultivation was up to the individual? You don't understand. Moon Spirit Princess shook her head, her eyes shining with golden light. Her heart was filled with admiration. She opened her red lips slightly, What the ancestral master passed to me was his comprehension. It includes the ancestral master's understanding of the supreme chaos palm. The more Moon Spirit Princess spoke, the more excited she became. Her delicate body kept trembling. You don't know, but the ancestral master has thousands of comprehensions of the supreme chaos palm. Each of them is recorded in detail from the beginning to the highest level. As long as you are a normal person, follow the steps recorded by the ancestral master, and you can easily reach the highest level. This is the ancestral master's understanding of the supreme chaos palm. Moon Spirit Princess's chest heaved up and down. She was very excited. Hearing Moon Spirit Princess's words, the Divine Nation Square fell into a long silence. Then, everyone reacted. Their eyes widened and they sucked in a deep breath of cold air. Hiss! Thousands of comprehensions. F***CK. The ancestral master is awesome. The ancestral master of the Tianma cult is indeed the eternal god. Everyone was shocked beyond words. Their admiration for Ning Tian could be said to be like a torrential river that flowed endlessly, like the overflowing Yellow River, unable to be stopped once it started. Thousands of comprehensions. They didn't know how to do it. The most shocking thing was that it had only been a short 5 days since Ning Tian obtained the supreme primordial chaos palm. 5 days to deduce so many comprehensions. TSK. One word. God. Moon. Moon Spirit. Are there really thousands of comprehensions? The Divine Nation Lord walked over and pressed Moon Spirit Princess's shoulder, his voice trembling. To be able to make a great emperor like this, it was enough to show how much Ning Tian had shocked him. Yes, Father, there are thousands of comprehensions. The Moon Spirit Princess nodded heavily. When she came into contact with the ancestral master's light of comprehension in her mind, she was also stunned for a few minutes. Otherwise, he would have succeeded long ago. Then, before he could finish, Princess Moon Spirit shook her head and looked at him seriously. Father, I know what you want to say. However, I'm sorry to tell you that the ancestral master must have used some tricks to comprehend the balls of light. After I chose one, the rest of the comprehension methods disappeared. As for the one I chose, I can't teach it to you. Is that so? Hearing this, the Divine Kingdom Lord frowned, but he quickly relaxed. Forget it. As long as there is someone among the disciples of my Divine Kingdom who can inherit the ancestors' things, that will be enough. Immediately, he looked at the princes, princesses, ministers, and generals in the square and said in a deep voice, "Pass on the imperial decree of the emperor. From now on, no one is to provoke the Tianma cult. Those who provoke them will be executed along with their entire family." Hearing this, the expressions of everyone in the square changed greatly, and panic flashed in their eyes. He hurriedly nodded. Understood. As you command, Your Majesty. We understand. Qin Feng frowned. Royal brother, the Tianma cult's ancestral master is indeed very strong. But there's no need for this, is there? If word gets out, won't people say that our divine kingdom is afraid of the Tianma cult? Silence. A cold light flashed through the Divine Kingdom Lord's eyes as he glanced at Qin Feng. Do you know why Father passed the throne to me and not to you before he passed away? Naturally, it's because Royal Brother's talent is better than mine. Qin Feng answered without thinking. Foolish. The Divine Kingdom Lord looked exasperated at Qin Feng's failure to meet his expectations. That's because you don't think far ahead. Don't be fooled. The Tianma cult's ancestral master is only this strong now, but when he's fully fledged, not even a god realm cultivator can stop him, let alone a great emperor. When that time comes, who in Sky Spirit will be his match? Don't tell me you want to give the Divine Kingdom tree an unstoppable enemy? This? Qin Feng frowned. Then what if we kill him in the cradle? Kill him in the cradle? Ha 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 ha. The Divine Kingdom Lord looked like he'd heard the funniest joke in the world. Royal brother? Qin Feng didn't understand. Do you really think the Tianma cult's empress is weak? The Divine Kingdom Lord sneered, his eyes flashing. If the ancient road to godhood opens again, that woman Luo Wuqing will definitely be able to step into the god realm. Why is there not a single god emperor in the entire heavenly devil cult? How could she become one of the most powerful forces in the heavenly spirit realm? Haven't you thought about this? The divine kingdom lord shook his head and turned to leave. Qin Feng was left standing in a daze. At this moment, Qin Feng seemed to understand how terrifying a great emperor was behind the Tianma cult's ancestral master. More importantly, it wasn't just one great emperor. There was also the Jade Lake's sacred master. Hiss. This legendary ancestral master is ridiculous. Outside the forbidden area of the palace, Ning Tian suddenly thought of something and slapped his thigh. What are you doing? Are you having a stroke? The Empress of the West was confused. She reached out and touched Ning Tian's forehead, muttering, "That's strange. It's not hot. You're not sick. Go away." Ning Tian brushed her hand away in annoyance. "I'm fine. I'm not sick." He wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Damn it. He'd gone too far. He'd forgotten to stay there. They were too far away. He couldn't sense their shock. Sigh. We should stay there and enjoy their shocked expressions. Ning Tian sighed helplessly. Why? Do you think you'll be rewarded for seeing their shocked expressions? The Empress of the West rolled her eyes when she heard Ning Tian's words. How did you know? Ning Tian was surprised. TSK. Stop acting. Let's go. The Empress of the West sighed and pulled Ning Tian away. Just as they were about to leave the imperial city, they heard a voice. Ancestral Master, wait. The two of them paused for a moment and turned around. They saw Yu Qin hiding under a tree and waving at Ning Tian. TSK. Ancestral Master, I didn't expect you to hook up with another girl while Luo Wuqing was away. The Empress of the West looked at Yu Qin flirtatiously. What are you talking about? She's just a friend. Ning Tian rolled his eyes at her and said in a threatening tone, Bad woman, if you talk nonsense again, I'll spank you. Chapter 185. Come on. Not to be outdone, the Queen Mother of the West swayed her body at Ning Tian. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Their actions attracted the attention of many passers-by. However, they did not dare to look at them for long. After a glance from afar, they hurriedly left. They were the legendary patriarch of the Tianma cult and the Jade Lake Saint Master. Ahem. Ning Tian touched his nose and looked at the Queen Mother of the West's slim figure. He seemed to have forgotten that this woman was eager to do something to him. Don't tempt me. I'm a decent man. Ning Tian spouted nonsense with a straight face. Oh, a decent man. The Queen Mother of the West smiled contemptuously, and then her body slowly merged into the void. Hurry up and finish your business. I'll wait for you at the rainstorm inn. This woman. Ning Tian held his forehead helplessly. Then, he walked toward Yu Qin, who was leaning against a tree. Hey, airport, what do you want from me? You're leaving the Divine Land, right? Yu Qin looked at Ning Tian. Yes, if nothing goes wrong, I'll leave today. My wife must miss me to death. Ning Tian nodded. Yu Qin said after a moment of silence. Then I'll treat you to one last meal. The divine horse meat that we stole together is still stewing in the pot. Okay. In a small attic, the two ate the horse meat served by Qin Haoran with Xiao Jiu and Qin Haoran. Speaking of which, this high-quality divine horse meat is really quite delicious, Ning Tian said as she ate the horse meat. Yes. Yu Qin nodded, but her eyes were fixed on Ning Tian. I didn't expect you to have such an identity. People should keep a low profile when they're outside, right? Ning Tian smiled and picked up a piece of horse meat without saying anything. Maybe. When you come to the firmament territory, come to the ethereal sect and find me. I'll take you to eat all kinds of delicacies. Yu Qin said with a smile. Misty sect? It's too far. The firmament territory is too far away. Ning Tian shook his head. Let's talk about it another time. Yes. As the two of them ate, Ning Tian suddenly picked up something long. What is this? Ning Tian was stunned. My specialty dish, barbecued horsewhip, Yu Qin said. Barbecue horse. Ning Tian stared blankly for a moment before his eyes sparkled. Waha, this is a great tonic. As he spoke, he began to gulp down the food. Hee, a great tonic. Seeing him like this, Yu Qin thought of something and could not help but blush as she whispered, Lu, hooligan. Tiske, anyway, I'm not a hooligan to you. With that, Ning Tian continued eating. He was doing this to nourish his body. He couldn't let his wife worry. After eating, the two of them parted ways. Ancestral Master, if you come to the firmament territory, you must come to the misty sect to play with me. Master and the others are too strict with me. Before leaving, Yu Qin waved her small hands and said to Ning Tian, Yes, if there's a chance, I'll come. Ning Tian smiled and turned to leave. When he returned to the Wind Rain Inn, the waiters and guests were all sitting upright and still, their eyes full of awe. Greetings, Ancestral Master. Eat, don't worry about me. Ning Tian smiled at them and went directly to the second floor of the inn. Seeing this, the group of guests shook their heads secretly. The Ancestral Master was not only handsome and talented, but most importantly, he did not feel unapproachable at all. This kind of closeness could often win people's hearts. Back to the second floor. He saw Zhu Yuanbao standing outside his room with a gloomy look on his face. Why are you here? Ning Tian's surprised voice rang out. Ancestral Master, you're finally back. Hearing the sound, Zhu Yuanbao turned and looked, his eyes filled with excitement. Ancestral Master, why is there a great emperor in your room? Zhu Yuanbao trembled all over and wanted to cry. He had something to ask Ning Tian. After opening the door to Ning Tian's room, he saw the Queen Mother of the West sitting on the bed and looking at him coldly. He was so scared that he almost wet himself. What's going on? Why is there a great emperor sitting on the Ancestral Master's bed? And it's the Jade Lake Sacred Leader. She's just waiting for me, Ning Tian said casually. Hearing this, Zhu Yuanbao was very envious. Thinking about having the Empress on his left and the Jade Lake Sacred Leader on his right. Oh my God, what kind of treatment was that? The Ancestral Master was the object of envy of all men. Don't talk about the 108 wives of the theocracy's crown prince. That was just the number, not the quality. Ning Tian ignored Zhu Yuanbao's envious gaze and said calmly, So, why are you looking for me? Ancestral Master, I'm not the one looking for you. Sister Heavenly Charms is looking for you. Zhu Yuanbao laughed. Heavenly Charms? Ning Tian was stunned. Then, a charming woman in a red dress appeared in his mind. The chief auctioneer of the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion? Why is she looking for me? Ning Tian looked at Zhu Yuanbao in confusion. I'm not too sure about this. Zhu Yuanbao was a little sad when he mentioned this. Although I'm the saint, the elders and seniors in the sacred ground don't want me to interfere with the sacred ground's important matters. Nonsense. Ning Tian looked at him angrily. With your playful nature, who would be at ease to leave things to you? How can you lose your horse when riding it? If I leave it to you, won't the Sky Treasure sacred ground be finished? Ancestral Master, don't hurt my heart. When you mention the horse, tears of sadness flow out of my mouth. Zhu Yuanbao said. Ning Tian glanced at him and ignored him. Then, he said to the Queen Mother in the room, Queen Mother of the West, wait for me. I have something to do. Then, he dragged Zhu Yuanbao to the Sky Treasure Pavilion. In the room, the Queen Mother of the West was stunned. She couldn't help but feel a little resentful. In the Sky Spirit domain, no one dared to make her wait. Ning Tian was probably the first person to do so. This bad man. The Queen Mother of the West gritted her teeth. She decided to lie down on the bed filled with Ning Tian's scent and rest. Sky Treasure Pavilion. A group of people from the Sky Treasure Pavilion was already waiting at the door. Greetings, Ancestral Master. Greetings, Ancestral Master. When they saw Ning Tian and Zhu Yuanbao walking over, they all bowed. Hey, didn't you see me? Zhu Yuanbao couldn't help but feel a little resentful. He was the saint of the Sky Treasure sacred ground. Couldn't they give him some face? I'm sorry, Saint. Sister Heavenly Charm said that we can only treat you as the saint when you cultivate seriously. Otherwise, just pretend that you didn't see him, a subordinate of the Sky Treasure Pavilion said softly. Hearing that, Zhu Yuanbo wanted to cry but had no tears. Ning Tian ignored Zhu Yuanbo and turned to enter the Sky Treasure Pavilion. I've long heard of the ancestral master's name. Seeing you today, you're indeed handsome and extraordinary. You bring light to the Sky Treasure Pavilion. At this moment, a laugh sounded. Heavenly Charm in a red dress walked over. Chapter 186. Ning Tian looked in the direction of the voice. He saw Heavenly Charms in a red dress with a charming smile on her face. Ning Tian was about to speak, but he didn't know how to address her. Puffed. Heavenly Charms covered her mouth and chuckled. Ancestral Master. You can call me Heavenly Charms Pavilion Master. Pavilion Master? Ning Tian was taken aback. You're not just the chief auctioneer, but also the Pavilion Master of the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion?
Yes.
This woman was indeed not simple. Ning Tian's eyes flashed as she looked at Heavenly Charms. So, Heavenly Charms Pavilion Lord, why have you called me here today? Of course, it's important. Heavenly Charms smiled and looked around. This is not the place to discuss matters. Ancestral Master, please follow me. Lead the way. Heavenly Charms led Ning Tian into a study in the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion. In a quiet space, the two were alone in a room. The air was filled with Heavenly Charms' unique, intoxicating fragrance. However, Heavenly Charms was a little taken aback. The legendary ancestral master of the Tianma cult didn't seem to be affected by this. If it were any other man, he would have blushed in the same room with her. How could he be so calm? As expected of the legendary ancestral master of the Tianma cult, Heavenly Charms sighed in her heart. If the Holy Son of the Heavenly Treasure Sacred Ground was even 1/10 as good as the ancestral master, he wouldn't have to train him like this. So, Pavilion Master, can you tell me your purpose? Meanwhile, Ning Tian spoke indifferently. If Heavenly Charms wanted to tempt him with just this, then she was looking down on him. Not to mention this, even if they were all naked, he would still be as immovable as a mountain. Of course, Tian Mei nodded slightly. Then, she took off a storage ring from her hand and gently placed it on Ning Tian's table. Ancestral Master, these are the spirit coins that you used in the Sky Treasure auction. Ning Tian's consciousness flickered as he probed the area. There were nearly 600 million spirit coins lying inside. Ning Tian's brows furrowed slightly as he put down his storage ring and turned to Tian Mei. You guessed it? When he was Marshal Ning, he only spent a few million spirit coins in auctions. This 600 million was for the great emperor in the Heaven Room A. Yes, Heavenly Charms nodded with a smile. After all, she was the one who had given the key to Zhu Yuanbo's Heaven Room A. Thinking back a little, she realized that Zhu Yuanbo had been following Ning Shui for the past few days. Ning Shui was the founder of the Tianma cult, Ning Tian. Thus, it was not difficult to guess that the mysterious great emperor was their ancestor. However, she was the only one who knew about this. Although I don't know how you did it, I have to say that you are really powerful. I admire you. Tian Mei giggled. With the strength of an Earth King, he was able to deceive 4 great emperors. Not to mention how he did it, just his courage alone was enough to make people admire him. Ding! Faith energy detected. Absorbing. Faith energy plus 30. Current faith energy, 850-1000. In his mind, the system's voice sounded. Ning Tian looked at the storage ring on the table with a calm face and asked, So, what do you mean by returning these spirit coins to me? Don't think too much about it, ancestor. This is just a greeting gift. What I really want to say is actually a cooperation. Tian Mei said slowly. Cooperation? Ning Tian frowned. Yes, cooperation. Tian Mei nodded, and a glimmer of light flashed in her eyes. I want to cooperate with the Tianma cult in the name of the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion. Tell me about it. Ning Tian did not refuse. Tian Mei said slowly, I think that the huge Tianma cult should need a lot of pills, weapons, and other cultivation materials. These things can be provided by the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion. In terms of price, we will give the Tianma cult a 30% discount. 30% discount? Ning Tian narrowed his eyes. If it was a large number, 30% discount would save a lot of money. However, why was Tian Mei so kind? Speak. State your conditions. Hee, I don't have any conditions. I just want to be friends with Ancestor and the Tianma cult. Tian Mei covered her mouth and chuckled. Ning Tian was silent for a moment and was not in a hurry to agree. I will go back and discuss this matter before making a decision. There was no such thing as a free lunch. What Tian Mei said still needed to be considered. Hearing that Ning Tian did not directly print it, Tian Mei was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, all right. When the time comes, if Ancestor wants to, you can find Zhu Yuanbua and let me know. Well, if there's nothing else, I will take my leave. Ning Tian got up and did not even look at the storage ring on the table. Ancestor, these spirit coins. Before Heavenly Charms could finish her sentence, Ning Tian's voice rang out. No need. I don't like to owe people favors. Ning Tian slowly said and left the study. How interesting. Tian Mei snapped out of her daze. Her beautiful eyes were in high spirits, full of splendor. This legendary ancestor. It seemed that he was more interesting than she had imagined. Pavilion Master, is it necessary to be so nice to him? You are. At this moment, a figure vaguely appeared in the shadows of the study, and the voice of an old man rang out. The old man's hair was black and white, and the aura around him was no weaker than the Quasi-Emperor Qin Feng. Elder 2, there's no need to say more. Tian Mei waved her hand, a trace of interest in her eyes. This guy is worth paying. We are businessmen and should be willing to give. The more we give, the more we will get in return. All right, that's all.
Yes.
Elder 2 once again disappeared into the darkness. Back at the Storm Inn, Ning Tian pushed open the door and saw the Queen Mother lying on his bed. Her chest was heaving up and down. She seemed to be asleep. This woman, Ning Tian muttered and slowly walked to the bed. He quietly looked at the Queen Mother, who was sleeping soundly. The sleeping Queen Mother still looked exquisite. Her nose bridge was high, and her small mouth was moving slightly. That seductive look was simply tempting him to commit a crime. Humph. The Queen Mother snorted coldly in her heart. She was actually pretending to be asleep. She did not believe it. Her ancestor, that old pervert, would not do anything to her while she was sleeping soundly. Sensing Ning Tian walking over, she immediately became excited. Is it going to start? However, she suddenly heard Ning Tian say in a serious tone, such a beautiful woman should cry if I hit her with a hammer, right? I wonder how a quasi-emperor expert looks like when she cries. What kind of man is this? Black lines immediately appeared on the Queen Mother's forehead. She could not hold it in anymore. She gritted her teeth and pressed Ning Tian's face into her arms. You stinky ancestor. Let's see if the emperor doesn't make you bald. Chapter 187. A few minutes later, Ning Tian struggled out of the ball in a daze. He felt as if all his hair was falling out. Ancestral Master, are you all right? Seeing that Ning Tian seemed to be unable to stand properly, the Queen Mother was stunned. Could it be that the Ancestral Master was suffocated? Then, wouldn't that woman, Luo Wuqing, want to fight me to the death? I'm fine. Stay away from me. I'm dizzy. Ning Tian shook his head and kept a safe distance from the Queen Mother. Haha. The Queen Mother spread her hands innocently. Is it my fault? Why are you still laughing? What are you laughing at? Ning Tian rolled her eyes at her in annoyance. He wanted to report her. Report this woman for hitting someone with a ball. Let's go. It's about time to leave the divine land. Ning Tian glanced at the Queen Mother. With this great emperor expert around, there was no need for a mount. The Queen Mother nodded. Tianling region. West Continent, Tianma cult. In the main hall of the demonic palace. Grand Elder, have the people from the Righteous Alliance been quiet recently? Luo Wuqing sat in the main hall. She was wearing a blue and white dress that outlined her graceful figure. She exuded a cold aura. She looked at the Grand Elder with her beautiful eyes and asked coldly. The Grand Elder shook his head. A cold light flashed in his eyes. Not only have they not stopped, but those people from the Righteous Alliance have become worse. Worse? Luo Wuqing's lips curled into a contemptuous smile. She smiled beautifully. Then kill them all. There's no need to show mercy. There's no need to pity those people from the Righteous Alliance. Hearing the cold killing intent in Luo Wuqing's words, the elders in the main hall were stunned. Then, they nodded vigorously. Understood. Empress, we understand. Luo Wuqing nodded lightly. Then, the elders began to report the recent events. Have you heard? Recently, an ugly man called Ning Shuai has caused a lot of trouble in the Divine Kingdom's Divine Continent city, the Sword Hall elder said. Now that you mention it, I seem to have an impression of it. It's said that because of this Marshal Ning, some of the princes and princesses of Divine Prefecture City were beaten black and blue, and many of their houses were destroyed. House collapse. The mouths of the elders twitched, and a bizarre expression appeared on their faces. Why did he feel like the legendary patriarch of the Tianma cult? Shenzhou City was quite far from the Tianma cult, so the news had not been fully transmitted. Therefore, they only knew that it was an ugly man named Ning Shuai who had caused a stir in Shenzhou City. This can't be patriarch, right? I have the same feeling too. Tearing down the house, it seems that he is very similar to the founder. But patriarch is so handsome, how can he be called ugly? Perhaps he's the ancestral master's long-lost blood brother? All the elders were discussing amongst themselves. Hearing the elders' words, Luo Wuqing did not need to think carefully to know who Ning Shuai was. She could not help but be slightly absent-minded. That guy had been gone for so long, and she missed him quite a lot. I heard that a peerless genius has recently appeared in the Alliance of Righteous Tao. He's extremely arrogant. Peerless my ass. Immediately, an elder snorted in disdain. Compared to our ancestral master, that fellow is nothing. Speaking of the founder, I haven't seen him for a long time. I miss him quite a lot. The Grand Elder sighed. Hearing that, the elders nodded inwardly. Although the founder was in the Tianma cult, and the construction expenses of the Tianma cult would be much higher, the cultivation of the disciples in the cult would increase by many times. I heard that everyone misses me very much. At this moment, a hearty laugh sounded outside the main hall. Following that, a somewhat familiar figure appeared in the main hall. Everyone in the main hall was stunned for a moment. Then, one by one, they reacted and were extremely excited. Founder. The founder is back. Inside the hall, a group of white-haired old men were incomparably excited. Shuh, keep a low profile, keep a low profile. Ning Tian shushed them, then walked towards Luo Wuqing in the main hall. The corners of his mouth curled into a smile. Wife, long time no see. Did you miss me? I didn't. Luo Wuqing shook her head faintly, but her red lips curled into a smile. Is that so? Ning Tian smiled happily, then took a step forward and gently pulled her soft and delicate body into his arms. He buried his face in her black hair and inhaled the familiar and relaxing scent to his heart's content. Luo Wuqing was stunned for a moment. Looking at his gradually relaxed expression, a hint of gentleness flashed across her eyes. Forget it. Let him be. In the main hall, the elders only felt a faint pain in their chests. Damn it. I'm already so old. Why do I have to watch such a distressing scene? How sad. Immediately, one by one, they coughed dryly to remind her.
Cough, cough.
Cough, cough, cough. Cough. What's wrong? Elders, are you not feeling well? Do you need the emperor to send you to retire? Luo Wuqing glared fiercely at the elders. The elders trembled, feeling a burst of coldness behind their backs. Suddenly, one of the elders reacted. I'm blind. I can't see anything. Immediately, the surrounding elders followed suit. I'm not only blind, I'm also deaf. Cough, cough, that. You can continue. The group of elders hurriedly hummed a tune and turned their heads away, pretending not to have seen anything. Humph! Luo Wuqing snorted coldly. Just as Ning Tian was about to kiss her, Luo Wuqing quickly pushed this guy away. A touch of red appeared at the base of her ears. She whispered in Ning Tian's ear, "What are you doing?" "There are so many people." Hee. Ning Tian chuckled and gently released Luo Wuqing. Then he would make up for it when there were fewer people. Immediately, he looked at the elders. "Elders, you don't have to pretend to be blind." Cough, cough. "I can see again. What a coincidence. So can I." The elders coughed dryly and then looked over one by one. "Ancestral Master, what did you buy in the Divine Land City?" At this time, the Supreme Elder asked curiously. The elders beside him also looked over. I did something big." Ning Tian smiled mysteriously. "Huh, did he do something big?" Hearing Ning Tian's words, the Supreme Elder and the other elders were stunned for a moment. A touch of doubt flashed in their eyes. Even Luo Wuqing was a little curious. Ning Tian smiled and then took out a storage ring from his finger. "There are 5 billion spirit coins and 5,000 raw crystals in this ring." 5 billion spirit coins and 5,000 raw crystals? The Supreme Elder and the others were stunned for a moment. How could their ancestral master be so rich? The value of those 5,000 raw crystals was simply unimaginable. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.